All right, everybody. Hello. Troy is gone, as you can see, but he'll be back at some point. So obviously, great start for Troy. If we get a clap in the chat, there he is. He's back. All right.
You started with me in the bathroom?
Yeah, we didn't have time. This is a professional broadcast. We have to adhere to a proper start time. That's why we are starting 18 minutes late. So our guest today is one of the most popular men in, I would say, an entire continent and an entire region, and somebody who hasn't really moved around that much throughout his career. We are joined by none other than Mav, who started off in Battlefield many moons ago, transitioned over to Rainbow Six, and you really haven't changed teams that much. You went on to the Fontt squad when you competed in your very first international event. Fontt got picked up with FaZe, and you were with that Fontt team for almost 3 years, if not a little bit over 3 years, depending on when you look at your departure from the squad. Now you are with Team Liquid, moving from player to coach / analyst / sixth player / jack of all trades. And if I do say so myself, you look good as hell. How are you doing? Welcome to the show. And how's it been? You just landed in the Liquid house today.
Hey Parker, hey Troy, thanks for inviting me. Yeah, I arrived yesterday at night, and I'm already going crazy because they cannot stop screaming for 1 second. But it's been nice. I really like them. They are really nice people, and it will be a crazy experience to live with them for the next, I don't know how long, but yeah. And like you said, I haven't been changing much. I wasn't in FaZe for almost 3 years, so it will be a new experience for me, and yeah, I think it'll be good.
You just got on this Liquid team. You were announced like a week or two ago. I'm trying to remember the exact timeline of it because we've been off work. I don't know if you two would agree with this, but it feels like a day has been a week and a week has been a day. So time doesn't really exist right now. But I want to start obviously with your origin story. We always talk about where you came from. Your first entry into competitive gaming obviously came from Battlefield, and you have a particular relationship with a number of players in Latin America, including one of your teammates through Battlefield, and even Milos as well. So why don't you start off by taking us through your Battlefield days? Because I'm sure there are people watching that probably don't know that you started in that scene.
At first, I was only like a Call of Duty player. I used to pub stomp, like just playing Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3. I just like to play like pubs for fun. And then a friend of mine was like a really big fan of Zigueira. And Zigueira started doing competitive Battlefield videos for YouTube. Yes, the Zig t-shirt, yeah. And my friend told me like, oh, let's go and play Battlefield and beat Zigueira, because he was a big fan, but he knew we were like at his level, if not even better than him. So we started practicing Battlefield, and we just started playing for fun. There was not like there were like big tournaments or LAN events. It was just like there was nothing involved, right? Just like for fun. But with time, EA started to invest more. And then in 2015, this is like 2014. So like 2015, EA started to invite one Brazilian team to play in Europe. And back then, our team was like me, Julio, Nesk, WAG, and 9XT. So pretty much everyone involved in Rainbow Six at some point. Right now, Nesk is my teammate. WAG is in Santos, and 9XT is playing Call of Duty as a streamer. He's actually like one of the biggest streamers in Brazil right now. He's popping off a lot. And Julio is on NIP, obviously, so everyone is still involved in some way in esports, which is really nice. Then we went to play in these tournaments in Europe, and we came second 3 times in a row. So we never actually won anything, but we were like really good. But yeah.
You talking about your team or EG?
I think my webcam is just yeah, me and Troy have a lot of similarities, but he actually won something, so I cannot say that to myself. Yeah. And so pretty much that's it. We didn't really have a big scene, and then once Battlefield died, like EA stopped investing. We just tried to find a new game, and everyone migrated to R6. So it was like a great timing because we knew like Rainbow was going to invest and grew, especially in Brazil. There were a lot of fans, and Ubisoft Brazil was really trying to push the game forward. So everyone, like literally everyone from Pain, like Zig, Revolt, Spawns, every player that used to play Battlefield started playing Rainbow, and yeah, that's how it all started, pretty much.
Why Rainbow Six of all the games?
I'm gonna be honest. At first, we thought the game was a little trash.
That
I
was
mean,
a pretty common opinion at the start.
yeah, I'm not even talking about the concept. Obviously, the game as a concept is amazing. Like we're talking about like the physics, the gameplay, the games was full of hackers, right? And we were used to a very fast way of playing play style. Like the Battlefield wasn't not a strategic gameplay. We were like running around, killing each other, like a TDM kind of. And when we started playing Rainbow Six, we even though we were by far the best team in Brazil for Battlefield, we we were like, okay, we need to change our play style. This is not how we play. We cannot be aggressive all the time. We need to have something of a structure. So the first season we actually lost and didn't even qualify to the LAN. And after that, we started, okay, we need to change our play style because like Rainbow Six was a very different game, and the reason we picked it was mainly because of the prize pool. Like there was no other FPS game with even tournaments happening in Brazil. Like the CS:GO scene is very small in Brazil. Like the players need to leave the country to make a good living, right? So you either are play League of Legends as a pro or Rainbow Six. There is no other game. Like maybe mobile games like Free Fire, but besides that, I don't think there is any big scene that you can actually make a living and practice every day and stuff like that. So yeah, that was mainly the point why we chose Rainbow Six at first, right?
Did you ever see Rainbow Six getting to be this size? I mean, you got to see you got to compete at the event in Rio, which still to this day is the biggest event we've ever had.
Yeah,
I remember
that was awesome.
that it was insane. I just remember that crowd, and there were ads on buses. We were driving down the street in Rio, and there was a big ad on a bus stop with Rainbow Six and Zig was on it. And
Yeah,
I was just blown away. It was
yeah.
crazy. Did you ever expect Rainbow Six to get this big when you started playing?
We kind of did, mainly because in Brazil, Ubisoft pushed so much the game for YouTubers, especially the young teenage like audience. Like there were a lot of YouTubers with 500,000, 1 million subscribers that Ubisoft was um, advertising, right? So there were the scene here was the first to get really big, even in the first year. Like we saw like NA in EU had like maybe 3,000 viewers when the Pro League happened, and in Brazil it was like 15 20K because of Zigueira as well. Like the Zigueira has a huge audience. So the first LAN event in Brazil was actually kind of big. There was like maybe 2,000 people. So it's a decently sized event for the first tournament of the game, right? So I'd say actually in Brazil the game has stagnated a bit when talking about audience because in NA and EU I think it's still growing a lot, but in Brazil, especially in the first year, we saw how many people were interested and how many how much the game managed to make a name for itself. So I'm not gonna say like we didn't expect it. The Rio finals was something I didn't expect it because it was something else. Like it was by far the best experience I've had in esports by far. Like I miss it a lot. I just wish it could happen more. It's a shame that the Pro League got canceled, but yeah. It happens.
I really wanted to come to Sao Paulo this year as well, so I'm bummed out. My first event ever was Sao Paulo, see the season 6 finals, right? So
Yeah.
for me, that was the first time I ever met Troy. That was the first time I ever met, pretty much everybody involved in the community, with the exception of like Bloodbath, Gasson, myself, and Kix. Everybody else I was meeting for the first time. So Brazil will always have a special place in my heart because it was like I stepped off the first. It was my first time in South America. It was my first time in Brazil, obviously. And it's like you step off and you just see this beautiful country, and then you get there and you're in like the hotel lobby, and there's like players and people that you've watched compete and you've interviewed but you've never seen in person. And you're like, this is really cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Troy can echo that, because you've competed at both the events that we've done in Brazil.
Yeah, but they haven't gone so hot. So, but I mean, I've wished like that I could really like appreciate an experience. I remember Sao Paulo was like my first experience with like, and that wasn't even a big event, but it was like my first experience with what felt like a real crowd. Because before, like, it had just been like small crowds. I think before that, the biggest crowd we had was at the 2018
Gamescom maybe,
or 2017 Invitational.
They were both about the same, right?
No.
They're both about 400 or 500 people.
Yeah, Gamescom was small.
Yeah, but no one was really like going crazy. Like there was some people, but like it wasn't like a crazy crowd.
Yeah, the Brazilians are wild.
But then
to say the least.
That one, it was like, I think it was like 1,000 people. It still wasn't like crazy numbers, but like it was like 1,000 people, and I just remember them
it
like
was more in Max 5. The studio where São Paulo happened is the same where BR6 will be played now, and it can fit almost 3,000 people.
Okay, then maybe then it was that, and
and it was a very hot place. There was no AC,
it was very hot.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we didn't have air conditioning in the casters booth, by the way, so it hit like 38 degrees Celsius in the caster booth.
It was hot.
Ritalia and Melly had air conditioning, so we would go from our booth into their booth and hang out with them, and then just like cool off and then come back.
I think it was when Black Dragons were playing Penta and they beat them, and I just remember the crowd going crazy. Like they were like singing a song. I don't even remember what it was, but they were singing like some sort of song for the Black Dragons. And I don't know. It was a special experience. And then Rio, I really didn't get to experience as much because like that loss was really tough. That was like straight to the hotel room, like I'm chilling until I go home kind of thing.
Yeah.
That one was bad, but I was going to end up asking about that one, Matt, because I know that would have been like that. You guys made it to the grand finals. You had a good match against G2. And then with the home crowd, like a huge home crowd, I could only imagine that would have been special. So,
yeah, it was crazy. Unfortunately, we couldn't close it. But yeah, on bank, I think we had a chance, but on coastline, it was doomed. Like we.
Oh yeah.
We went to that tournament without even knowing how the veto system worked. Like, oh man, that is another story.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how it worked either. I didn't know we changed over because that's when we changed to the ban pick, right?
We thought it was only for the majors, not for the pro league.
Yeah,
that's what. Yeah.
So for people that don't know, the way that it used to work was that let's say it's Liquid versus Space Station. Liquid would ban a map, Space Station would ban a map. Liquid would ban a map, Space Station would ban a map. Then they'd pick a map each, and then there'd be a tiebreaker. That changed. So for Rio, it was Liquid would ban a map, Space Station would ban a map, then Liquid would pick a map. Space Station picks a map, then Liquid bans, Space Station bans, last map left is a tiebreaker. It changed at Rio, and it wasn't communicated all that well.
I mean, it got sent. Well, it got sent to the managers. I mean, whatever. The issue we got, the issue we had was we had two map permabans, right? We had Villa and Coastline. It was Villa just got added like maybe 1 or 2 seasons ago. I don't remember correctly, but we thought the map was kind of way too big, so we couldn't like have flank watch properly. We just started banning, which is a shame because after that it started being one of our best maps. but we didn't know back then. So we thought we could have like 5 really good maps, 5 really confident maps that we could beat them on. So yeah, we at the finals banned Villa, and they picked Coastline obviously, and Kanto just destroyed us. So yeah.
I remember
very common refrain for Kanto. Sorry,
I just
That
remember.
clutch.
I remember that clutch. Yes.
Yeah.
my
I'm
team.
kicking,
My team ended up scrimming it, and like me and Gio were in the exact same situation. We were both like in the 2 corners at the livery, and I literally said to him, "I'm like, Gio, we got to move. I've seen Kanto clutch this one before."
yeah. That was a bad one. Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. It happens. I've had worse.
So, so I mean, you've been around a lot, and you mentioned Zig a couple times. And I have to ask, for somebody that's not from Brazil, and the other thing that a lot of people that might be from Brazil might not be aware of is that I as a caster, and I'm friends with a number of people from Brazil, so I talk to players from time to time. I still find it extremely challenging to follow what goes on in Brazil, in Rainbow Six, in content creation, etc. So, for people that might be on that same wavelength, or for people who might not even take note that much of, Brazilian esports, etc., how important was Zig in making sure Rainbow Six got off the ground? Because you've mentioned him a number of times now already. And I mean, I've seen his influence in Brazil, but I want somebody who's had firsthand experience to really explain it.
I mean, he always had a huge audience from Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4. He was always a guy that was producing a lot of content, daily content from FPS. So I'd say he was actually the biggest FPS name in Brazil. Maybe someone from CSGO, but I think he was the biggest. And when he migrated to Rainbow Six, it was just a matter of time that his followers were going to migrate as well. He was not the only one. There were a lot of others YouTubers like Patife and some others that had like millions of subscribers. But he was one of the biggest, and obviously a very important name, because not only was he a content creator, he played the game at a very high level. So it is a very rare thing to happen. You can see like Bolo and a few others that do make some content, but Zigera was a YouTuber. Like, he made videos every single day from many different games. So he was maybe I think the only one doing that. So I'd say 90% of the initial audience was mainly because of him, and maybe Patife and other YouTubers. It's maybe only because of them, and one of the reasons why the scene grow, and now you can make a living off of it. And yeah.
Now that Zig has stepped out of the scene, he's been streaming a lot of Call of Duty recently. He's been playing a lot of Warzone. Who do you see as being his heir to the throne for Rainbow Six? If you're a young kid growing up in Brazil now, you're not watching Zig videos necessarily for Rainbow Six. Who are their idols? Who are their stars that they're trying to be like, that they're idolizing?
I mean, Nazca obviously is streaming pretty much every day. He makes really good content. He's one of the best players in the world, so he's playing ranked at a really high level, and everyone likes to watch him. But I'd say, like, for content creation only, Haza, it's a streamer. He just joined Liquid like 1 month before me, so he's in Liquid as well. And he's he streams, I'd say, like 12 hours a day, some insane numbers,
Holy
like more than
smokes.
300 hours a month. And he's always he's a very like charismatic guy. He's very funny, and you can see like he likes streaming a lot, so he interacts with his community. I'd say he's the biggest name right now for the Brazilian scene, yeah, that really likes to play Rainbow Six, because a lot of them unfortunately are, like you said, playing Call of Duty and other games. So yeah.
You think that's and this ties back into what you'd previously said about, you said that you think like Rainbow Six has kind of leveled off in Brazil. It's kind of plateaued or stagnated.
Yeah.
Do you think that's solely because content creators have moved elsewhere? Do you see a comeback for Rainbow Six in terms of the player base in Brazil? Has Valorant and Call of Duty stolen a lot of the up and coming, FPS players in your country?
Yeah, I think both games kind of did that. Not only in Brazil. I mean, if you see the numbers for the past like 5 to 6 months, the game has stagnated and lost a little bit of its player base. I hope that it can come back and grow again, but I'm sure it will eventually. But right now, I'd say I don't know about the viewers of the games of the matches. I mean, if you see like liquid matches put in a lot of numbers, like the final of the major was pretty good as well, like a lot of hours watched. But the how many people are playing, I think it slowed down mainly because of Valorant, Call of Duty, especially Call of Duty, since it's a free to play game with cross platform and everyone's playing on console with friends and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's mainly because of that. Yeah.
I wonder if, I mean, Troy, you don't really keep your finger on the pulse of ranked and casual in North America. I know that much.
A little bit.
Me
little bit.
neither.
Like,
But I was
not
going to
really,
say,
no.
I mean, I think it is time to admit now that we had a peak earlier this year that seemed to coincide with the whole pandemic happening, right? We peaked around February, March, April, and then since then we've gradually lost numbers. At least what we can glean from the Steam charts. And I say this because the Steam charts don't tell a full story. A, we don't have the Uplay numbers, and B, we've always known that PC is not as big as at least PlayStation, maybe not as big as Xbox either. So we don't know what the numbers are like on the consoles. But I think it's an appropriate time for us to acknowledge the fact that it does seem like we hit a high earlier this year, and we've kind of come back down to levels that we were at sometime around last year. And I was just going to ask you, Troy, if all of your ranked and casual adventures and things like that have led you to see anything in terms of maybe you're not seeing as many unique names before, maybe you're queuing into games and finding the same people every time kind of deal, and whether or not there's any cause for concern in North America in comparison to South America.
I mean, I don't play it as much, but I do like watch, or like I'll see my teammates watch, but it's usually the same. Mostly the same people. Like sometimes there's like some new names and faces, and like people kind of recognize them from like, or like people start to recognize them more because they play against them more. But like, yeah, it's usually kind of the same groups. I mean, there's cheaters in there as well, obviously. Like those are the ones that you usually don't know. Like when you don't know the name, that's when it's fishy. So, yeah, but a lot of the same names. But you still recycle like who you play against a decent amount. Like I don't find it too repetitive. I don't find it too hard to find a game ever. So I don't know. I don't think it's too bad.
I don't play ranked at all. Like I'm gonna have to start playing if I want to keep some level of gun skills since I'm not streaming anymore. So yeah, I'm gonna have to start playing pretty much every day. But Nesk was waiting 4 hours for a ranked game today. He woke up 9 a.m. and he only found a match like 1 p.m. I think. So I mean, he has one of the highest ratings, so it's harder to find a match when you're at his win rate. Like he's maybe top in Brazil. I don't know his squad is, but still, he cannot find a match. He wants to play the game and can't. So that's an issue, right?
Yeah.
I mean that does happen. I've watched Overwatch, I've watched, Counter-Strike, I've even watched League guys literally playing Hearthstone while they're in queue because they're so high ranked that they can't find games. So it's hard, especially like in the morning on a Sunday.
Yeah.
I feel like morning on a Sunday, there's probably not a ton of people playing, but I mean, I do think that it's fair to say that there's obviously significant issues with cheaters and unreliability. I don't know how bad the cheating situation is in Brazil. I don't know if you encounter it, for example, Mav.
I honestly don't know, but I don't see them complaining as much today. I don't think. I mean, I don't think there's that many cheaters as NA. I could be wrong though. I'm not sure, but yeah. He wanted to
there's a lot in North America, by the way.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot. Even when I'm not playing, like I'll just be like walking past where everyone's playing downstairs, and I'll just always like cheater just gets thrown at, like, Luke's like, we killed the cheater, and I'm like, oh, got another
Again?
cheater in their game. Wow.
Yeah.
So stepping off of ranked for a second here, because you were one of the longest serving players in all of Rainbow Six, actually, and it's quite impressive that you've been around as long as you have been. After your first couple run-throughs with a variety of different teams, you landed on Fontt. Now, from my understanding, Fontt is a pretty big energy drink in Brazil. I don't know much about them, so correct me if I'm wrong here.
I cannot talk much about that because now I have Monster. So
Or is
Yeah.
that? Yeah, that's true.
it's fair.
You don't need to promote them. I just mean, like, the reason why I'm asking is because when I was first getting into the Rainbow Six scene, one of the things that I saw was that there weren't a lot of big orgs in the game. But Brazil seemed to have quite a lot. Ince is a huge org, INTZ. Pain is a huge org. I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, Fontt looks like they're pretty big too. They're named after an energy drink. That would be like playing for Red Bull Gaming or something along those lines. What was it like? What was it like in terms of support at the early days? The early days of Latin America, when you were playing on LAN, you're playing in your country against fellow countrymen. What was that like in comparison to where you're at right now? And how much do you think that getting a good start like that helped Latin America grow as a region as quickly as it did?
Let's just say Fontt is not a monster. Like they are a very local energy drink. Like they sponsor a few stuff around, but you cannot find it around the Brazil. I mean, at least where I live very in the south of Brazil, like almost in Uruguay, pretty much like Argentina. So I cannot find Fontt. So I don't know. But let's just say our salary was 500 reais, which equals to $100. Our monthly salary was $100. So you cannot live off $100, right?
Right.
And from the entirety of 2016, me and my teammates didn't earn a single cent from salary. 2016, we earned from a prize pool, but not salary. So you had no investment whatsoever. Like besides Ubisoft Brazil putting in a little bit for the orgs and the prize pool making the events, you couldn't live off Rainbow Six. Like thank God, like the orgs from the international orgs starting to look at Brazilian teams because of the quality of the teams, the players, and of course the pilot program have helped as well. And now you can make good money out of it. But from like the first half, like 2016 and 2017, you were pretty much based off of prize pool, and the prize pool was not even that good. So it doesn't even compare to what we have right now. And yeah, it's good that it grew. It just took a little time, you know.
When you were with CTM, if you don't mind me asking, were you paid a salary or were you just playing pro bono?
No, it was our salary was like for the season. I forget what the exact number was. It wasn't much. It was like, I want to say it was like somewhere between like $300 to $600 for like 3 months, basically.
So about $100 a month.
Yeah, the main reason we were going for it was because Smack and Exec were like decent sized to pretty big streamers for Siege at the time. So like it would grow our brands as players.
Exposure, yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy how exposure doesn't pay the bills though, isn't it? Like you can't go to a bank and deposit exposure.
No. But it was, I mean, hey, it was a good idea at the time. Like you weren't going to get anything else at the time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it was yeah.
I think Rogue was the first to actually invest and start like some decent. Rogue is big, right? So a decent sized org to
Yeah, Rogue was the first one, I'd say.
EG followed pretty soon after. And I mean, Mav, FaZe was one of the first ones as well. FaZe and Liquid were like the two big 1-2 punch that hit Latin America, if you remember, from the international orgs. But that Fontt team that you were on had the distinction of continuously being one of the best teams in Brazil every season. Yet, whenever it came to the finals, you always fell apart.
Yeah.
I remember back in the early days when it was BRK and Fontt were like the two big teams. They would say BRK would always do poorly online, but then BRK would do really well at LAN. Fontt would do really well online and then never really do well on LAN. What?
It's not true.
I mean, that's what people said.
I mean, LAN, define LAN. International LAN? Okay. In Brazil LAN?
We would international LAN. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. International LAN.
That's true.
Yeah. Outside against like other countries.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Because you've always been really dominant. The teams that you've played on have always been really dominant in your region. But what was it? What do you think the struggles were for your team whenever you'd compete outside of Brazil? Do you think it was the play style just didn't match up? Was it nerves? Was it team synergy?
I think you can attribute that to a lot of things. Mainly, like one of the biggest issues was Penta. Okay, so we couldn't win because Penta was winning everything. So nobody was actually winning besides Penta, right? So okay, that's the first. The second, I'd say it's that we are a very good team when we are preparing. We had a very we could analyze and counter and adapt by watching VODs. So when we are playing like a best of one, or even like the format that used to be before, like a double elimination, I think we could outplay them by outsmarting them because we had a lot of time to prepare. For these events, it was not the same. Like you have maybe 2 weeks to prepare, but you play a lot of teams on the same day, right? You play the quarterfinals, then the semifinals, then the finals. So we couldn't prepare, for example, for G2 in Brazil because we didn't really had an analyst and a coach and a lot of staff work. So we were as players studying market, then studying Norarango, then studying G2, and it was not enough, right? And our play style was pretty much like that. I'd say that's more of the issue. Meanwhile, Liquid was mainly based on gun skill with Nask and back then Bullet and a lot of players that used to have a lot of gun power and just maybe do some defaults. They didn't really do a lot of crazy things, a lot of crazy. I mean, they did in Atlantic City. They just rushed with Ying, but it was more on the fly. They just adapted with the meta, Ying, Lion, and so, but they didn't really make tactics from what I've seen. So I think it was not nerves, but sometimes we used to think that we had to do more than we should. We left how can I say, like the strategy, we were not very it's not dedicated, but players that relied on the strategy when we were at LAN. Sometimes we wanted to do crazy hero things, like to save the round. Oh, let me catch the C4 mid-air, even though it's 4v2. Like, no, you just go easy, take it slow. You kind of went ahead of ourselves sometimes. And there were a lot of examples for that, even myself included. I'm not blaming on my teammates. Everyone did mistakes. Obviously, we lost so many times in the finals. But, I think there were a lot of lanes we could have gone further. But we always lost for very small margins, like very few rounds. We like 7-5s, overtimes. So yeah.
You guys lost a lot of close games against like good teams too.
Yeah, I remember we were playing in Milan. Again, I was playing against you, and that border match, I cannot still swallow that border match. I'm gonna make a video talking about that border match because I think you didn't realize how much you won that match because of the smoke bug, the smoke glitch.
Smoke glitch through the wall.
That smoke glitch guaranteed you 2 rounds.
That was our setup.
No, you don't. You're not understanding. I'm not talking about the default plant, that setup. I'm talking about the pipes bomb site. On the pipes bomb site, Young threw a smoke in pipes that he didn't intend to hit with the bug, but it hit Yuna, one tick rate, and we couldn't plant because of that tick rate. Hit outside of the map. It was like I'm gonna do a video sometime when I have more time. It was a crazy round. It was 5v5. Yuna was planting, and he didn't plant for 0.01 because of that bug before. So, oh my god.
You say nice smoke play?
Yeah, nice smoke play. Yeah. I mean, he played that clutch was really nice, right? The 1v4. But
Yeah.
he deserved that. That SMG play was amazing.
The I was gonna ask if it was Necrox on smoke for a second, but no, it was Young.
No, it was Young. Yeah.
I know Amar Necrox. He would do smoke glitches on everything, bro. Like that guy loved. He loved clipping smokes. Like that was like his favorite thing to do in the game was clipping smokes. And with Capitao, used to be able to clip the fire arrows with Capitao, and he used to do the same thing. Like teams in NA hated him because he would do it in scrims all the time.
I don't understand how that is still in the game after 4 or 5 years. Like you have millions of dollars prize pool, and you can. It's not intended, right? It's a shame.
Yeah,
it needs to be fixed.
I agree.
I think one of the most memorable matches that I ever saw, that I remember being just a battle of the Titans, and you beat the shit out of each other, was obviously quarterfinals of SI 2018.
Skyscraper.
Came down to a coin flip on Skyscraper, yeah, because neither of you played that map. Like it was not a staple for either of you. And what was it? Every single attack won every time, or was it defense won every time? I think it was attack won every single round.
No, it was defense.
Was it defense won every single time?
Basically.
And it just came down to whichever team wins one round of attack.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously this is long enough ago, but I just remember FaZe came into that event as, I mean, you looked almost unstoppable. And I remember you were scrimming teams and you were just crushing everybody in scrims. And then you went into the quarter and you went into your groups and you absolutely annihilated everybody in groups. I think you lost like 3 rounds in the entire group stage or some.
I think it was the most dominant performance in group stage out of any major or invitational.
I still think to the same. Yeah.
We went 22. We lost 2 rounds.
Yeah.
One against Ents and one against Ents and one against Eins.
Yeah.
So it was 10-1, 10-1. We were like unstoppable. And then Skyscraper happened.
And that was the thing. I mean, it was a close match up until that point, right? And then Skyscraper happens, and I remember I was talking to Shas from at the time it was Penta, and he goes, there's 2 maps that they don't play. They don't play Skyscraper, and they don't play Coastline. And he's like, if they have to play one of those 2 maps in a decider, he goes, it basically comes down to whether they've actually learned the map or their opponent can just simply be better than them on it, because it's going to be your tiebreaker map. And I just remember seeing Skyscraper come up, and I was like, oh no.
Wait, I don't think you guys played Cafe at the time either, right?
It was either Cafe or Chalet. There was 3 maps you didn't play.
No, we didn't play Chalet. They played Chalet.
That's right.
They played Chalet. But
we played Chalet. Yeah, we played Chalet.
But I don't think you guys
remember about Cafe. I don't remember.
I don't think you played Cafe, and that was like part of my reasoning for like calling the bluff. It was like I basically could choose between banning Oregon or Sky, and I was like, if I ban, basically I knew you had to pick a map that you guys didn't play.
Yeah, we didn't think you had to get the big Skyscraper. We thought you guys were banning it. Yeah. We lost the ban phase. Well deserved, I guess.
I just remember Shas saying that, and because I was talking to him backstage, and he's like, those are their like auto bans. They do not play those maps, and if they have to get either of those, then they're in trouble. And if their opponent plays it, obviously it's going to be a free win for them. And I just remember seeing Skyscraper, and I think I was talking to, it was either you or Jordan Bacon Troy about it, and you guys are just like, it was definitely Jordan. And I was like, what are you guys going to do on Skyscraper? And I think he said something like, fuck if I know.
We didn't know. I literally banned the maps, and I was like, all right, boys.
That was a wild west.
I went to the huddle, and I was like, guys, I might be taking us to Skyscraper. I was like, just listen to me while we're playing it. Maybe we'll figure it out. The first round we tried to run like Blitz and Ying shotgun. We died, like 4 of us died in like 5 seconds flat. And I was like, oh fuck. I was like, we should not have gone to this fucking map, man.
I think that was my 5th time playing that map overall, actually. I'm not even joking. I didn't even know the layout pretty much.
Oh man.
It's Oh,
Yeah,
well.
Awful map, but it's getting reworked.
I remember Young with a Blackbeard, like getting 4 kills in the
Yeah.
window, everyone in the same spot, and
He killed
everyone
everybody
going.
in Geisha.
everyone
Yeah.
just swung on the window. He didn't even move.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that. If you go back and you rewatch my cast of that, it was such like just like a mind-boggling play that I think my voice cracked and I was like, yeah, or something like that. It's so embarrassing to watch
Yeah.
because it's like he doesn't even play it well. It's just you all tried to kill him. And he just stood
He
there
was
with I'm pretty sure.
It was the DMR.
Yeah, it was the DMR.
Yeah, DMR.
And it's just like, he just stands there with the shield on, DMR in hand. And I just like, I like lost my mind because I'm like, what am I witnessing? And it was such a great match up till that point. You know, I was like, and the general consensus at the time from a lot of the teams was whoever made it out of that match was probably going to the finals. So
when we played Rogue, right?
We played Rogue next. And I mean, it's no slight to Rogue because you were playing.
Oh, we should have lost to Rogue too.
It was Rogue with King George, right? Or no?
No. They'd replaced him.
They had Brian and Easley at the time.
Oh, okay.
Rogue beat Supremacy in the quarters. Yep. So it was so on one side you have Rogue Supremacy and then you have FaZe EG, and most of the teams that I spoke with, and the two that I remember most notably were Dizzle and Shas, were like, whoever wins that EG FaZe matchup is probably going to the finals. And Tom wanted you guys because he thought that FaZe was a scarier team, Troy. So he wanted to face you because he thought that you were weak. Yeah. And he was worried about that FaZe team. But that was just
skyscraper.
Sorry?
I remember
just take him to skyscraper.
Yeah. I remember after that match against ENS where we went 10-1. I think it was Uno first match, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
With the team.
And
Kanto went on Twitter saying it was the worst match that he got most countered on. He couldn't do anything. Like, he just died every single round. Because we really prepared a lot for that group stage. We knew everything, like every pixel, everything they did. Maybe that's my point previously. Like, we are good preparing for the teams. But after that, it's harder to maintain in a format where you have 16 teams, not right? It's tough. Yeah,
that makes sense. That's like a criticism I've given to like DZ, and that's I feel that one of like the strengths of the teams I've been on is like the opposite of that. Like, I prefer us playing in like 16 plus teams where
you can adapt really well.
Well, where like you don't have time to prepare way in advance, right? Like, you do your preparation the night before, and that's really all you can do.
Yeah.
Like, I've always been more comfortable in that, I guess. But yeah, I mean, that would make sense. And I've never played you guys like in a first match, so I've never played you guys when you've had like a lot of time to prepare, I feel like.
Yeah.
So that would explain a lot of it.
It's
I might be mistaken, but I think we only got first rounded in a pro league, not invitationals. Invitational got first rounded this time, but in pro league, I think it was only once for Millennium that we lost in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
I think it was the only time. I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but I remember for that tournament we didn't prepare at all. We were just playing like MMOs and we just playing nobody cared about Rainbow Six anymore. I don't know what happened with that season, but Millennium played really well as well.
Yeah. You if you go look at your lands, you lost in the semis at Gamescom to Penta.
Semis in São Paulo to ENS.
Yep. You lost to ENS in Sao Paulo. You lost to Millennium in Atlantic City. In Rio, you lost in the finals.
Milan,
you lost to
semifinals.
Yeah. So.
And in Japan, we lost first rounded, but we didn't even have our full team.
Yeah, so. You had 9XT subbing in.
We didn't prepare for the match at all. Just tried to.
At Raleigh, you put on a hell of a show in Raleigh. You didn't make it out of groups though in Paris, to be fair. Because the only Brazilian team that made it out was NIP, who then got beaten by by EG.
Yeah, our team was in shambles in Paris.
Oh yeah.
It was a heck of a story, actually.
Would
I
you like
just
to share the
remember.
story?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much I can say. I'm just gonna say it. It's been so long. It's been 2 years, right? Pretty much we were like going head to head. Me, Gohan, Astro, pretty much everyone on the team was like just in practice. Astro was, I don't remember exactly what he was doing. He was like punching a wall, and Gohan in the game, not in real life, punching a wall. In the game, he was punching a wall, and Gohan got so mad. He was going to say like, I'm gonna put Boar in the tournament. You're out of the team. That's it. It's over. And he actually wanted to replace some players, me as well, for Boar. And after the match, we lost against I think it was Secret that eliminated us. We lost, and he was raging so hard he actually got mad in that with the judge, and we almost got kicked out of the tournament. I mean, let's just say our team was pretty much done with him at that point. Yeah, it was not our best tournament, I'd say, but yeah.
Yeah. And he left the team shortly thereafter, and he ended up getting picked up by your current team of Team
Yeah.
Liquid. You had a hard group, to be fair, at the Paris Major. That was like the Rogue, FaZe, Team Secret. Was it either Orgless or Mocket? It was the German.
Orgless.
It was the German
Orgless.
team, right? That was a tough bracket.
Yeah.
I think we won against Orgless and lost against the other two, Rogue and Secret.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when Secret and Rogue both looked very strong. They both looked like top two of their region.
That was a tough.
Yeah.
I remember going into the event. That was the group of death.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Our group is actually like always one of the hardest at invitationals, at least if you like Empire.
Yeah, you've always had tough ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still don't know how Empire Dark Zero were in the same group at this SI, because they were both seed 1.
Yeah.
So for me, it didn't make any sense. Like,
No,
meanwhile, Group 4, you have G2 and Rec and...
Yeah, G2 should have been in the hardest group because they were the lowest seed, right? Like, G2 should have been in... It should have been with the first overall seed, which would have been Group A, which was the Empire group, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It made no sense. It's like
group,
you take G2, who are supposedly the weakest team at the tournament because they had to get the pity invite, and you put them in what everybody is saying is by far and away the weakest group at the tournament. It's like, doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
No, some of the groups were. I mean, like our two groups were really tough, and then there was the Brazilian stacked group, and then there was G2's group. That, I mean, it was still a good group, but like not the same in terms of competition as the other one.
Yeah.
So you go through and you get picked up by FaZe Clan. You were one of a few number of people who can talk about your experience in Rainbow Six back when there were a bunch of tiny orgs, when you were only getting paid, basically nothing, to getting picked up by FaZe Clan. Now, one thing that isn't an experience that's really been shared on this show is going through the emotional aspect of getting picked up by a big org. And at this time, and they still are, FaZe Clan is one of the biggest names in all of esports, even outside of esports, with like their Call of Duty trick shot montages and their apparel line. FaZe are huge. Do you want to take us through, how did FaZe reach out to you, and how did you end up ultimately going with them?
It was very weird at first. Portela, the manager, came talking to us. FaZe Clan is interested in you guys. We know you are a great team. We had just won the Brazilian Nationals, BR6, like destroying, back then was Black Dragons. We won like 4-0. So we had our, like, orgs had their eyes on us. And Portela came to talk to us, and we honestly thought he was joking, like a fake, like, just because he had no background. He never was from anybody. Nobody knew who he was, and he's like, in FaZe? What do you mean? Like, and then with we obviously accepted it because it was the best offer we had at the time, and then we had, like I said before, we went from pretty much nothing to finally having a salary, right? So for me, it was kind of normal. I since my background is from Call of Duty, I always knew who FaZe was. I actually liked a couple of their YouTubers. Temper is a Brazilian YouTuber and one of the owners. He's a very nice guy. It was very cool meeting him. There's FaZe Jav that I like watching, and a couple of others. But I'm not gonna say it was all perfect. Let's just say there were a couple of issues, especially at first, because it's such a big org, it's such a big company. When you join a game like Rainbow Six that it's still in development, it's still growing, they are kind of uncertain about some things. At first, we had a couple of issues, but with time, it got better, and and yeah, it's good that they're still in the game, and I hope they still invest in Brazil, the Brazilian players, and maybe more orgs can come in the future. So yeah.
What was your experience like with EG? Because I don't think you and I have ever actually talked about this, like how EG approached you and got involved, because they really took a flyer on you guys at the time. They were like, to me, a lot of people say Rogue, but to me, it was EG that was the starting shot for me.
Yeah, I mean, Rogue had like the money, but it wasn't like as big of an org in terms of like their presence and whatnot, I'd say. But yeah, EG, I don't know. I just woke up one day and I looked at my phone. And I had like a DM from Jeremy from Ubisoft. And he just said, like, can you hop on a call quick? And I said, okay, sure. And he's like, basically hopped on a call and he just said, can you give me like your email to give to EG? They're like potentially interested. And then gave him my email. And then I just started talking to Phil, who at the time's the COO. I think he still is the COO of EG. And then, I mean...
Well, I know Phil.
And then we just talked for, I don't know, a couple weeks, like had a couple meetings with the team and stuff like that, and figured things out. And then we were with EG for like a month and a half or something before it was announced. Like it was basically signed and done for like a month and a half, but they didn't announce like right until before the Sao Paulo event. Just because of the timing of when they wanted to do it and all that stuff. But yeah, so we were just kind of waiting around for that, and then the announcement came in. We were so excited for it because, like, at the time too, right? Like it was like the first big org, so like it wasn't announced, and we were like in Chicago, like boot camping at the Steel Series office and everything. Yeah, it was exciting times.
I can imagine it's like a dream come true, right? Like if you like kids that love baseball, if they're from New York, I mean, maybe not all of them, but most of them grow up, they want to play for the Yankees, you know, like that's their dream. And you've got somebody who grows up and they've always wanted to play for their hometown team, and then they finally get to do that. Yeah. You know, like if you've grown up watching Call of Duty and you love Call of Duty, Optic and FaZe are probably two of the teams that you'd want to play for.
Yeah. It's crazy how many people actually want to join FaZe. Yeah. And it's not even because of the organization itself for like the esports side. It's mainly because of the name of the brand. They are kind of a style brand, like clothing brand, YouTubers and mentions and stuff like that. If you actually look at the esports side of FaZe, it's actually not that big. I mean, you have the FaZe update Twitter where they post the results and everything, but you never saw anything from Rainbow Six in the actual FaZe Clan Twitter, right? They never advertised us. They never worked on our image. They never did any work at that level, right? So it kind of is a shame, but they have their Fortnite, their games that they focus mainly on. So I understand that they are a company, you know, they work in a certain way that makes sense for them, but yeah.
It's like a lot of people nowadays look at 100 Thieves. Everybody looks at like 100 Thieves and they're dropping like their drops in their brand and etc. And I mean, FaZe is still huge, don't get me wrong. It certainly does seem like 100 Thieves has kind of taken over the spotlight that FaZe had, but I think people forget that before 100 Thieves, FaZe Clan was that team. FaZe Clan would redo their jerseys. They do drops. They would do,
They still do.
odd streetwear, and they do. But it's just, I think for most people, 100 Thieves has kind of commanded a different audience, and where the split that I've seen happen is 100 Thieves seems to have grabbed the older, more like esports side of things, whereas FaZe has grabbed like the younger content creator side of things, especially heavily centering around Fortnite. So that's how I see it, at least.
Yeah, I'd say 100 Thieves still probably has like a young audience, but like,
oh, absolutely,
it is more esports centered,
yeah,
for sure than FaZe. FaZe is definitely more of like the content side of it.
Yeah.
100 Thieves has more of your like Call of Duty older audience. I would say FaZe has more of your content creator, younger Fortnite side of things. And I think they can both exist. There's obviously crossover here. Like people that love Fortnite still love 100 Thieves. People that love Call of Duty still love FaZe Clan. FaZe Clan has Atlanta FaZe, for example. They have a franchise in the Call of Duty League. So it's still very much a thing. It was just a point I was making, is that everybody's like, oh, 100 Thieves is so hype beast. And I do find it funny that a lot of brands are moving in that direction. And the one that I've been probably the most impressed with is Liquid's collaboration with Marvel. All of the Avengers stuff.
That's insane. Yeah,
I'm so jealous of that.
I'm still waiting for my jersey. I want those clothes, man.
Those jerseys are so cool.
They're so
I'm jealous
so awesome.
of those. Yeah. That's a cool collaboration.
Yeah. I was very surprised when I saw it at first.
I was like, I remember seeing the thing, and I thought it was a joke. I thought it was just like somebody doing like a mock-up that was like a Liquid fan, but also an Avengers fan, and was like, let's merge them. And then I remember seeing the first jerseys were Captain America, or were the first jerseys Spider-Man? I can't remember, but they wore them for...
I think Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, they wore at OGA.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I think the first time they wore Marvel stuff was at a CSGO event, wasn't it? Liquid wore...
It might have even been mixed.
Yeah.
I feel like it might have been mixed.
CSGO, I remember.
I think they had the
Captain America.
Yeah, I remember the Captain America ones where they won the event, because I remember Nitro was wearing the Captain America, and everybody was like, he's actually Captain America. So, but no, and that's crazy to think, right? And I mean, Liquid's had some of the nicest jerseys, but I mean, jerseys are a different market, and we see esports kind of gravitating towards stuff that you wear in public. Like, are you going out is the average person going out in like a Team Liquid jersey? Probably not. They're not going to go to like a party or a job interview, or, well, not a job interview, or like anything like that wearing a jersey. But if you're wearing like a nice like Marvel Liquid style like long sleeve shirt or something like that is cool, right? Like and I think we're going to see a lot more of that, and teams are definitely branding themselves that way.
Yeah,
I'm
for sure.
I'm envious that you're going to get one.
Yeah,
I'm still waiting. I'm wearing a Nesk one. I mean, Nesk is a legend and all, but I want mine. Yeah.
So this Fontt team that you were on that becomes FaZe Clan, you have a crazy run. And somebody in Twitch chat actually said this. They said, I kind of forgot how many good and important matches FaZe was in.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people underlook it. Like, when people talk about like G2's era, they mention EG alongside of it because we lost them in all the fun, right? Or the big fun. But like, I feel like FaZe was right there. I feel like FaZe and Rogue were like right there. I feel like those were like the four at the time.
Yeah.
And like,
I could say Ents. I think Ents was there for a period of time as well.
Ents was like in and out, kind of, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because they were there for that Sao Paulo. I guess they had that invitational run, but it was just kind of in and out. I feel it wasn't as consistent.
Invitational? I don't remember, because
they went to the quarterfinals and they had a decent showing against.
They lost to Penta. Yeah,
Penta. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
but yeah, overall, not too much. Like, it was mostly just the very early stages, like prior to the 2018 invitational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's wild to think that the Latin America scene, I think, gets overlooked in general. I don't think it gets the credit that it deserves. You know, Liquid's victory in Atlantic City, people are very quick to put an asterisk up and just say, yeah, well, it's just because of Lion. Yeah, it's just because of Ying. Oh, it's only because Penta had Kanto as a sub. There's a million reasons why Liquid's victory at Atlantic City to a lot of people isn't real. And I think that's totally bullshit, you know, and it's, I don't know, once again, if it just goes back to what I'd said about how hard it is for people to follow Latin America, because I do find it challenging, and I'm sure others do that aren't from Brazil, but there's a lot of really, really good matches, like important matches that people need to go back and rewatch, that involve FaZe, that involve NiP, that involve Liquid, and they should, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I've actually been finding really hard to see all games from each region, to watch all games from each region, because there are a lot of matches going on right now.
It's too much now.
And if you include APAC, it's impossible. Like you don't have the time for that.
Just don't sleep. Just don't sleep.
I used to watch everything, so I'm assuming like you were the same. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, every single match. But it was best of ones. Right now, it's best of threes and best of twos and 10 teams. So you have content every single hour of the day. It's too much. So I understand if people are like focusing more on an A and a U now because of it's an A and a U. But you can find some really good matches in LATAM, especially from the main top 4, top 5 teams. It's an undervalued region, I'd say. But it's kind of attributed because we haven't really won anything internationally besides the Atlantic City, like main events, right? So I understand why people think EU is a better region, and obviously NA now winning invitationals and stuff. So.
For me, it's I've always had like a soft spot for Latin America and for some of the teams, you know. I don't think there's an event that has gone by where I didn't sit down and talk to Zig when he was a player. You and I talk at every single event that we've been at, usually quite a while. Same with Yuna. You know, and it irritates me that people, and it's happening somewhat to APAC now as well, but APAC hasn't been anywhere near as successful as Latin America has. But it's just like people from Europe or North America just immediately write off the other two regions, and it really frustrates me because, you know, Latin America plays a very unique style, as does APAC, and it's a lot of fun to watch. And I think that you're missing out on some really good gameplay and some really good storylines and some really good characters in the scene by ignoring it, you know? And
no, I feel like even like as a top, like on top teams, I feel like any top team has never been able to write off like the top 3 of Latin America. I feel like there was maybe a point in time where like NIP briefly, like it was kind of a question mark, like whether or not they could kind of find their footing like internationally. But like, I feel like Liquid and FaZe have always been a big threat internationally.
Even MIBR, even though
MIBR as well.
Far,
I think it's been a bit more
really good matches, right?
Yeah, I feel like they've been a bit more inconsistent, but yes, like they've.
I remember they making it real difficult for G2 in Rio as well.
Yeah. Yep, I remember that match. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry if the mic is catching. They are playing ranked and apparently they are getting destroyed. And Palu and Nesk are just really tryhards, you know. So
it's and I mean I've tried to cheer for as many LATAM teams as I can. You know, you and I literally stood like almost arm in arm in Atlantic City when Liquid was winning. I remember I was standing in the stands with you and Silence and you know the rest of FaZe at that time watching and cheering for Liquid to beat Penta. And you know, Troy likes to be upset with the fact that I was cheering for NiP at SI this year, for example. And it's, I don't know, it's been fun watching your development in particular, and in keeping with that, your team was super successful and you had some roster issues you mentioned. And I do kind of want to dive into this because there was always a lot of talk among teams of the amount of personalities on FaZe at the time. You, Gohan, cameraman, Astro, and just like everybody would butt heads. How do you make that work in a team setting? If, you know, and you can see it. You can go back and you can rewatch events where there would literally be a timeout and you would all just be yelling at each other. Like, not even like civilly disagreeing. You're like screaming at each other.
Yeah.
That's all I could think of when you were mentioning the Paris major. I remember I was watching it with my team, and you guys like took a timeout, or it was like a technical issue or something. And like I forget who it was at the time. It was whoever was behind you guys at the time. He like taps Gohan on the shoulder.
It was
like,
Boar.
And he offers him like a Snickers bar. It was literally a Snickers ad, bro. They're like, you gotta calm the fuck down, bro. You're hungry. And he goes, he eats the Snickers bar, and he's like, yeah, you were right. And like calms down. Literally 2 rounds later, it cuts back to them on the camera, and he's fucking yelling at cameraman, bro. They're just both pointing at each other, screaming. I was like, what the fuck?
I remember it was Helby from the coach from Rogue, I think.
Yeah.
Oh no, Secret.
Coach
from Secret. Yeah, he posted on Reddit that he knew that Gohan raged so much that he would purposely call a timeout when he knew someone from our team fucked up, so that he didn't want the timeout for his team. It was for our team to yell at each other and for Gohan to just go crazy at us. So he was a very smart coach to catch that, and it worked. Clearly worked, because that event was crazy. But overall, we butted heads, me and Gohan, but he never really raged at me, to be honest. He raged at mostly cameraman and Astro, and I kind of took their side, not even taking their side, but saying that the way he was doing was not effective, like trying to make him understand that the rage doesn't, it's not gonna change. He's already raging for years, so why keep raging if it's not working? I mean, I cannot say it didn't work, because we won a lot of things, especially in Brazil. We always won, so that's why the team kept together. Otherwise, if we lose, that team would never stay together, because we didn't get along as well. But yeah, it's crazy. I don't know how that team, that core 5, me, Moringa, Astro, cameraman, and Gohan went for so long together. I remember some days of practice, I just wanted to stop, like gave up, everything, because it was so stressful, and we had a lot of conflicts. So yeah,
it's a nice hand wave from Palu in the background, by the way. But
oh yeah. Oh, Paulo, by the way, just lost like more than 20 kilos, like 40 pounds. So Paulo is becoming a bodybuilder. He's gonna be like the next liquid, how can I say, like a power lifter. Yeah. So
damn.
Yeah. Everyone is starting to make their own weight loss journey. Moringa needs to start one immediately. I'm big friends of him, so he knows I'm coming from heart. He told me yesterday he wants to lose weight. He wants to be healthier, so I think it's good for him. So
you've lost a bit of weight yourself. You are a stunning man now. You always were, but I remember.
Oh, stop it! Not like you, Parker.
No, you look great. You look great. Kappa Pride's in the chat, but I remember in Milan, you won your match in the quarters of Milan. And you had an early match, and you were in the lunchroom. And I just remember, I think I was casting that match, and you win. Who did you beat in the first round in Milan again?
Lestream.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you take out Lestream in Milan, and I'm pretty sure I casted that match, and I came up for lunch. And I just remember all of you were around a table in the lunchroom, and you were all just shouting at each other. And I'm like, how are you shouting at each other when you just won the fucking match? Like, and it wasn't like nice. It was like you were very clearly in a fight, and you had won the match maybe like 20 minutes ago, and you guys are already all yelling at each other. And I was like, what is going on here? You just need to eat some food. Like, why are you shouting?
I don't remember that well. I don't think we were fighting. I think we were very adrenaline rushed, and the Brazilian language you just go like saying caralho and stuff like that. So people might think we were fighting. I don't think we were fighting. We were just like very loudly.
It did not
talking with
seem
each
nice. It did not
Yeah.
seem nice. You and cameraman in particular were just like staring at each other like hands out. Cameraman
Yeah.
doing the face he makes where he's like,
Yeah. I don't remember that well. I remember it was a very small table, right? Like,
they were the tiny little circular tables in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone was like very quiet eating, and we were like, yeah, I remember that. Brazilians tend to be very loud, especially the people from the south. So I think it's something from culture. I don't know.
It was funny to watch because I just remember I think I was eating with the Fnatic guys because I think they were up next, or they were up in the game after that. And I was eating with Lusty and Dizzle. And I just remember Dizzle looking up, and he just goes in his Australian accent, he goes, "What are you fighting for? You just won." In his really calm voice. And I was just start cracking up as I'm
He's
eating.
such a nice guy.
Yeah. But so that Fnatic roster obviously undergoes some changes. And
Fnatic.
or sorry, the FaZe roster. Sorry, somebody in chat said
okay.
Fnatic with the handshake on Brazil. So your FaZe team undergoes some changes, and the most notable one, I don't know, Moringa out for Yuna is one, but Gohan.
Gohan left or Yuna.
Sorry, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Gohan for Yuna was probably the big one. Then obviously after you make the change for Moringa, but the Gohan change for Yuna. Gohan is obviously, and I know this in particular, Gohan is obviously a very polarizing, a very strong figure. You said there got to be a point where it's just the team couldn't go on any longer. How did you decide on who left? Did he want to leave? Was it a you need to leave type situation? And then of all people, why did you pick up Yuna, who at the time was playing on if I remember correctly, he was on that Pain roster at the bottom of the standings.
Yeah. Well, Gohan wanted me out for Boar. That was our coach.
Mhm.
That was what he wanted. But we knew that like after that Paris group, there was no way anybody on that team could play with him ever again. Like it was impossible. So the team decided that he needed to leave, not even because of his in game, but because of his off game, right? So why Yuna? I think it's because Yuna was a very smart player. He still is. Like he likes to contribute a lot in the strategy department. He's very communicative. He was one of the best supports from Brazil, even though his team was, like you said, in the bottom of the score. And we knew he was also I knew him from like more than 14 years now. So he was one of my friends from childhood, actually, and we were always very close. So why not, right? I don't remember if I was the first to say. I think it was Moringa to consider him, and we all agreed like he was one of our best options, and it worked out. I mean, we especially in our first tournament with him, we went to the finals, right, in Rio. So he was a great pickup, and yeah.
You and I, Troy, got a picture with Yuna in Sao Paulo in what I think was the first photo I'd ever taken with players ever. Yeah. I remember we did the same in Rio as well. As somebody who had to, who played in the same ecosystem as Yuna, do you think he was the right piece for FaZe at the time?
I think so. I mean, my biggest belief was that they needed someone different in terms of personality because they had just been like some of those guys have been playing with Gohan for like even longer. Like Astro had been playing with Gohan like since the start of the game. And like you got to keep in mind, like Astro was literally the guy that Gohan would scream at, like Mav said, right? And like
Astro was his bitch.
And Astro's like this quiet.
I'm not even
quiet
joking.
kid.
He knows that's true. Yeah, he knows that's true.
So like they were teaming together for like forever and going through all that. Like they needed something different. And like Yuna's a fucking goofy ass guy. Like, I don't know. I felt like that was a good fit. And then also like he plays support well. I think that like you said, adding to the strategy, like he's a very creative player. I feel like
He is.
like I just know this from just playing like ranked with him. Like that's how I knew him, was just like he used to message me and we would play ranked together just for fun and just mess around.
Yeah.
And like
With
he would
Goddess,
always,
if I remember correctly. And that's why we took the photo.
and he'd
That's when
always
you were the
make
number cruncher.
Yeah, he's always making some like pocket crazy strats. Like the most of the rushes you saw us doing in the last
Yeah.
like few months, like with Amaro, we had one of or two attacks in Consulate and maybe Cafe as well. He came up with it like out of the blue. So yeah, he's a very intelligent and creative player.
Yeah. So yeah, I think he was a really good fit. I think it was a good choice. I think to me always that kind of after that, like you guys initially got that roster and then you ended up changing out Moringa after for Ion.
Yeah.
And I mean even then you guys still had some good performances with Ion. Like the rally major, I think you guys very easily could have beaten Empire in that match.
That clubhouse match, dude. Oh my god.
And like Empire went on to win the event, so like that's saying something that you guys very easily could have beat them there. But then to me, it was just always like that Tokonami event that you guys like you didn't have your roster for it, and I feel like it was like that was a land that you got like that was your land to win, you know?
Yeah, us and NIP. To be honest, NIP was really well at that time. It's the same roster, right? So us and NIP could have gone to the finals. I'm pretty sure. But yeah.
That was, to me, that was what I was excited for that one, because I knew going in that Kix and I would be doing the finals. And I was like, prior to the visa issues, I was like, fuck, we got FaZe and we got Nip, both of whom are probably, I would say probably top 3, both of them in the entire event. I finally want to cast a Brazilian team winning, and then shitty circumstances. Yeah.
And then after that, I don't know. It's just seemed
teams run their course.
Things didn't seem the same, and
yeah. That year-long run that you went on with Yuna on the team, because you talked about it. You know, you went into Rio, and then a year later is Tokonami. That year-long run that you went on, do you think that was the top? That was the peak of the FaZe team up until this point?
I think so. Not only for FaZe, but for me as a player as well, and individually. I had some couple of events that I think I played really well, but we always came very close and lost, like Milan, Raleigh. Raleigh, actually, I think we were the team that came the closest to beat Empire.
Yeah.
I remember watching the stats. We had way more kills than Empire, even though we lost because of the 7-1 on Clubhouse and stuff like that. So we actually thought we could have beat Empire and won the whole thing. But Empire was really hyped as well. They were really well.
Both those maps, the Cafe and Console, you guys very easily could have won. Like I was watching it and literally thinking in my head the whole time, like you guys were their closest matchup, and definitely,
for sure.
like it very easily could have swung the other way.
Yeah, and we in the middle of this run we replaced Moringa with Ion, right? And Ion at first was playing like a smoke role, so it was new for him, but he adapted really well. Ion is a very very talented player, very smart player as well, even though he is not as vocal as he should be. Like I think he, with time and more experience, he's gonna develop that. But he's a very smart player, and I think he was a good fit for the lineup. Moringa is a god player, but he was very demotivated at the time.
Yeah,
he knows that. Even himself said that. Me, cameraman, and Astro were always like asking him to be more dedicated for the game. And even though he's one of my biggest friends in this the community, we had to kick him because he was just way too lazy, man. Like he just wouldn't do anything. Like even though I've never played ranked, I still never played ranked for like 4 or 5 years. I've always watched VODs. I've always created something in custom games. I've tried with my time to do another thing that would help me and the team. I would focus less on my individual and focus more on the team. And Moringa didn't have that side, so that's one of the things we wanted more of him. But yeah, with Ion, the team I think got more energy and more a new energy, a new yeah.
This is something that's come up often. It comes up in real sports. It comes up in traditional sports, and it's come up here on this show a lot. And it's sometimes players just run their course with certain teammates. Sometimes they need to change a scenery to get motivated. Sometimes they need a wake-up call. Sometimes they need an entirely different play style. Pojo's numbers and stats on Dark Zero were abysmal, but that was because of the way he played in the system. Pojo goes to TSM and his numbers bounced back in a huge way. Even your numbers when Gohan were on the team were okay, but after Gohan left the team and you swapped roles, you had one of the highest KDs and some of the best stats in all of professional Rainbow Six esports. So sometimes small changes and sometimes just maybe making one roster move, it can reinvigorate a team. It can bring a new strategy. It can bring a new set of eyes. Or in Yuna's case, bringing him on changed up your playstyle and brought another strategic mind, and it gave you a new life and the team a new life. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I mean, Moringa goes to Liquid, and what happens? They go on that incredible run at DreamHack Montreal. They go on that incredible run at OGA Pit, and that doesn't happen without him coming in, and he played some of the best that we've seen.
And he's the MVP against us in the Brazilian finals.
Yep.
And they win the biggest tournament ever until now, right? For Brazil, with him being the MVP against us. So yeah, karma,
I mean, it happens sometimes, right? And I know that Troy likely can talk about this as well, when even making one small change or even one roster move, or even saying to a player that you're considering making a roster move, it can wake them up and provide them with the motivation they need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Moringa after the match said like he had analyzed us every single round, everything. And he knew everything we would do. Like he really pushed himself for that finals because he really wanted to beat us because we kicked him, obviously. And that drive is something that it's very hard to have all the time. I think very few players have that. Maybe Troy is one of them that I know, and it's something very difficult to have all the time constantly in the same lineup. I think you said in one episode that you think that a team can be together for some time, and after that a certain amount of time it starts to slow down.
Yep.
It's natural, so I think it's really true, and yeah, it happens.
Yeah. No, that roster change thing, that wakes people up for sure. Yeah, sometimes it needs to actually happen. Sometimes it can't just be like you say it to them, because sometimes if you just like say like, hey, if you don't start kind of contributing more, like we might need to replace you. Like sometimes they'll just, I don't know, a couple weeks of being better, and then that's it, back to the usual. But I feel like a change like that can really wake someone up. So I mean, sounds like it did for Moringa. Yeah.
It did, for sure, yeah.
I think you can kind of work 50-50, because we've seen players that they have talent and that they have the skills to do well. And then there's a roster move made, and instead of using it as motivation to improve, they just kind of crumble and they get upset. And like for a good example of that, and I love him to death, is Jonas. To me, Jonas got dropped under circumstances that you can argue whether they could have been nicer or more professional or respectful. But it was very clear after Jonas stepped off that G2 team, even though Jonas wasn't the same player that he was a year ago, he was still, in my opinion, he was still good enough for Pro League and still a very good player. But it's like the moment that he went off that G2 team, it's like he went from a 90 down to a 60. He stopped caring, and he started playing poorly, and like that was it. He was done.
Yeah, but in his case, it's a little bit difficult because they were an all-star team, right? They won everything. They were unstoppable. So you got kicked from that team. You go ahead and you think to yourself, okay, where am I going now? Like it's not gonna be at the next G2. It's not gonna be the same thing. I'm gonna have to bounce back, you know.
Hmm.
And Moringa, he managed to bounce back because at first he went to Black Dragons, which is a good team. Don't get me wrong, but it's not Liquid. You know, it's not FaZe. It's not the top 2, top 3, the top dogs from Brazil. But he bounced back and he managed to find a spot in Liquid, and now he has all the energy to okay. Now I'm with a team that can compete with the likes of FaZe. Maybe if Yunus was called to play for Empire. He doesn't speak Russian, obviously, but a team like Empire that can beat G2, he would have that drive again to,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah. Him joining Secret seemed better for me, but like it didn't work out. But like that seemed better to me than like was it Sisu at the time?
Yeah.
Ants?
He went back.
Yeah.
He went back to Sisu because that was
Okay,
after
Sisu.
Mouse Sports, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sisu. Like joining them, that's the thing. Like Mav's saying, like he was on like the superstar team, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is like it's not like he was like a leadership figure in that team, right? Like the leadership figures would have been like Fabian and then Pank, right? Like if one of them left the team and they joined a new team, if they were motivated, I would expect them to be able to like build that team up. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But Jonas, like, he's not. That's not him as a person, really.
He was
like,
a very good mechanical player. I remember in 2017 saying he was the best player in the world, in my opinion, because of
Yeah.
his movement.
Yeah.
And he used to rush and get some crazy kills, like flicking aims. And in 2017, I think I was not the only one saying that. He was actually one of the better players in the world. So, yeah.
I remember it was around Sao Paulo, heading into the Invitational. It was in between that, like what Sao Paulo was November 2017, right? I remember somebody was telling me they're like, they say you don't jiggle peek Jonas.
Yeah.
You don't peek him, you lose. Like that's it. And I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody up like pretty high at the time, and they're just like, he doesn't lose gunfights. You know, like he doesn't like.
I think the biggest thing was his movement, like Mav was saying.
Yeah,
It was
his
like
movement.
he was like the first person that was like he'd be like just bouncing up and down and fucking moving his head side to side. Like he was the first crackhead, man. Like you would just watch him and like he'd be hard to kill. Like he would be he would play in the middle of nowhere behind like one small thing and he'd just move around like a madman and you wouldn't be able to hit him.
Yeah, he
Like
saved he saved Penta a lot of times. Like, of course, there's Pangu and there's Fabian, there's everyone on that team. But he was an insane player.
So through this FaZe Clan roster, because we've talked about it a lot now, and I mean you've obviously got a new chapter ahead of you, and I also want to get to a couple other subjects here. The FaZe Clan roster, unfortunately, you never win anything with it, and then you have what is I think for me was your performance at SI 2020 was when I realized they're probably going to need to make some big changes. And I mean, they did, right? Cameraman steps off of the team. You step off the team shortly thereafter. And now you're with Liquid, but you're not a player. You're a sixth player, but you're a coach / analyst. Are you tired of playing? Could you not find a team you wanted to play on?
Oh, I definitely had offers. I definitely had teams that I could play in. I just didn't see myself as winning tournaments with them, in going very far. And what I said to them at Liquid is that I'd rather be part of something, even though as coach, that I believe can lead to tournaments and lead to winning SI and being a great team, than becoming something that I don't really believe that I can win. So I mean, we'll see what happens in the future. I'm not counting out playing anymore. It's not, oh, I'm done. But yeah, we just have to wait and see what the future holds. And I'm happy in Liquid. The org is amazing, and all players are amazing. They are all my friends. So I'm just overall happy to be here. Yeah.
Yeah, I respect that decision.
I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah.
We're preferring to try to build something to like win rather like even if it has to take you out of playing or being in the spotlight or whatever you want to call it. Like, just as long like doing what is best for winning. In that sense, I mean, I respect that. That's something I think I would probably end up doing if I were in your shoes, where like my only offers were ones that I didn't believe as much in. Like, I would probably end up doing that as well.
Like playing for E United.
Yeah, like
Yeah, the timing was pretty bad as well, because not only because of COVID, but because what I've told you about the transfer window. So there was no possible way of me going, because of the transfer window was closed when NA was open and EU was open. So I don't know, could have happened, but yeah. And the Brazil scene, if you actually look at it, it's pretty small when you consider there's only like 4 teams from international teams, right, and 6 from Brazil, and you cannot compare the structure, unfortunately, yet from the international teams for the Brazilian orgs. It's different, so it's something to consider as well. But I maybe in the future. I mean, we don't know what will happen. I'm just happy to be in Liquid now.
Was there ever a period of time where you got offers to move to another continent and play?
Oh yeah, and like a couple times. Troy came to speak to me. I actually remember in the after party from Raleigh, he was considering going to SSG. Like he was like, Mav, what do you think about me going to SSG? And I was like, I gave him the most cliche comment ever, like, oh, I think you should follow your heart.
You really did, man.
Yeah, I did. And you went to SSG, you followed your heart, so I'm responsible for you winning a tie, right?
Yeah, this is true.
And,
but no, go ahead. Sorry. Oh my god.
And EG was making some changes. We never really went ahead in the conversation, but we were just considering it. There was a couple of things to consider, but overall they ended up changing everything. There was also in Japan, back then was a reciprocity, which was considering making changes, but then I think it was Skies left and everything went. They changed a lot of things, so there were some offers, there were some chances. There were also a lot other Brazilian players that speak English quite well that had some changes to go to Europe, I think. But yeah, it didn't happen yet for Brazilian players, right? So
yeah, it'd be a heck of an accomplishment, eh? The first transfer from your region.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be a big deal. But yeah, that was when I was leaving SSG, I remember because leaving to join SSG, like I wasn't decided whether I was leaving yet. Like I could have been staying on EG and we were making changes as well. And like Mav was one of the guys that we said like we were basically just like listing off all potential options that we'd be interested in. Like Mav was one as an international transfer. Virtue was another one, but like again, none of this progressed very far at all.
Yeah.
It was just us tossing out names. Like it wasn't like actual
sending out contracts and stuff like that. Yeah.
So it wasn't like actually close to happening or anything like that, but just the ideas were out there.
After party talks, rosters have been built on those, man. You can't just brush them off.
There's a familiar after party talk. I'll bring this one up from Milan. Mav told me that he was going to retire and become a pilot.
Oh yeah, I remember.
This was after Milan.
Where was the Milan after party? Oh yeah, that's right.
We were talking.
It wasn't a club.
Yeah,
we were talking in the hotel lobby though.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of that.
Yeah, I was just really sad to lose again and again and again.
Yeah,
and I was considering it, but I never actually pulled the trigger. Like I can't. It is something that I can go as a. But yeah.
I remember. What was it? I can't remember what event it was. I remember you lost, and you and I were talking. And you were very sad. And I just remember you had shed a tear, and you're like, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I need to go for them to win. And I just remember hugging you, and I was like, no. I was like, you stay. You stay. You do not leave.
I did that one too. Don't worry about that, Mav.
Yeah.
We all did at one time. I mean, we lose so many times. We start considering yourself as the problem, and maybe you are. You cannot know until you're out. So we'll see, right?
Yep.
Well, I'm happy that you landed at Liquid. I like Team Liquid, obviously. Even though a lot of people think that I hate Team Liquid, I'd like to go on the record and officially say, Brazil, I do not hate Team Liquid. But I'm glad that you landed in a good org on a good team. Naturally, I would like to continue casting you. So, obviously I will cheer for you no matter where you go. I think you and I and Troy have drank together at every after party we've been to.
Probably.
I'm
for sure.
I remember Brazil. I remember Rio when we were at the club.
Yeah. I don't remember much of it.
I was gonna say
I don't remember much of that one either. I remember being there.
I remember
Temper was there as well.
I remember Rio was you, me.
I remember there was a midget in a cage.
There was.
Yeah, there was.
I remember Rio was the three of us and Fabian were all sitting talking in like the corner, and Zeronic ordered a tub of beers or whatever it was. He ordered like 2 tubs of beers, and I just remember we were sitting in the corner, and then I remember the cage came down and the small person got in the cage and started dancing, and I was like, what is happening?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, I have a small resemblance of the beers coming, but I don't.
I just remember being like, what is going on here? And then the Raleigh Major, I remember you two were sitting talking, and I came over with food like a little gremlin because I was so hungry. And I sat on the floor because you guys didn't move off the bench.
Yeah.
So I'm like sitting on the floor cross-legged, eating like meatballs because you two are engaged in some passionate conversation on the bench. I'm just like sitting there trying to eat in peace.
I remember.
I'm like listening. I'm like, what's going on? Is Troy going to play for FaZe?
That would be interesting.
No,
what's happening?
You found out later that night.
Yeah, I did. I did find out your moves later that evening. We're at the chicken place the next morning where I saw it solidified. So, so let's talk about Latin America as a region now. Because I think it's still the only question that I would ask is why did you leave FaZe? But I mean, I don't know if you're willing to discuss that. I still think it's kind of recent. If you want to discuss it, go ahead. I wasn't going to ask about it.
Well, I have no problem talking about anything. You asked me like if I have any topics that I don't want to talk. I'm open to talk about it.
So why? Okay, then fine. Why did you leave FaZe? How did that come to be?
I don't know.
You don't know why you?
I mean, you have to ask them, right? They kicked me, but it's I think mainly because the climate, like the environment was not the best. You could say. I mean, you knew something was wrong, just people wouldn't talk about it. I mean, that's my biggest issue with that. We always had talks. We have a psychologist. We have meetings every week. So you have those type of stuff to open yourself, to talk about problems, to try to work to better yourself, to better your team. We just didn't say anything. Like I think I tried to be one of the few that were outspoken in those meetings, but it's like their personalities is not something for that. Those players, they are not very open for that. So I'd say it's like you have a marriage, it's not going well, how you have problems, but you both stay silent, and then you have a big fight, and then you broke up. It's pretty much like that. You're not trying to work on your marriage, or just letting it die for some reasons that it's very hard to explain, very hard to understand. It's mainly because of time, Me and Yuna know each other for 15 years, so while that it's a good thing, it's also a bad thing. With intimacy, you can have both ways. So it happens. Life goes on.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be better for them and for me as well. So
yeah. This circles back to sometimes you just need to make a change.
Yep.
And sometimes, FaZe is obviously the one thing I've assessed from FaZe is that they're looking to get young and they're getting new blood in and all that jazz. And, you're old.
Yeah, I'm old. I'm old as fuck. We're all old as fuck.
We're all very old. Yeah, that's true.
How old are you, Troy?
I'm 24. I'm not that
Oh,
old.
you're not as old. Yeah, you started playing really young, man. Holy shit. I'm 26.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much retired
what?
at this point.
I'm 26. Shit.
He's ancient.
Yeah.
Old.
Yuna is 30 though.
He's the same age as me.
Wait, Yuna's 30?
Yuna is 30. Yeah. Or 29, I don't know. 29 or 30.
I thought Yuna was younger. Huh.
He's 29. He was born in 1991.
Yeah.
So he's a year younger than me.
And he, like when you make 30 in esports, you're dead.
Mhm.
Like you're gone, right? So, yeah.
The year that you turn 22, you get put on hard breach. So
Yeah.
it's just how it works.
I've been avoiding that. I went straight from sledge to analyst. So.
You're still hanging on Sledge, man.
Because they nerf
That's
bot.
the thing.
I have my moments.
When I don't know, I think like the roles and stuff, I think it can work as long as Ash is a bit different, but like Sledge, that kind of stuff, I think you can be fine as long as your team is playing good as a team,
Yeah, Nesk is 25 and he's playing Ash,
Yeah,
so he's
okay,
holding
but
on.
he doesn't make sense though. He's something else.
He's not a man. Nesk is a god, I believe.
Yeah.
I've never felt like getting slammed so fucking bad before.
I've said it a couple times in the cast. You know how it's Nesk? What is it? It's WGNA or something like that. I've called him
WGA,
Nesk.
WGA.
Yeah, I call him Nesk God a couple times. Yeah. Nesk Wagod.
He's one of the players that he already knows like there's no way they are going to this road championship road thing without Nesk. Like he has a slot. You cannot have him. He's the most consistent player from the history of the game by far. Like so in Brazil, right? So
yeah. No, he's a special one.
So I want to talk about Brazil now that we've talked about you getting sent to the retirement home from FaZe Clan. I want to talk about Brazil because it's an interesting region in terms of it having a really, really well-defined regional meta. And it's something that when we go to events, I try to talk to every single Brazilian team because I don't always get to talk to the teams all that often. And, we don't interview you. When we used to cast you from the Poland studio, you would do your interviews with Retalia or Melly or the whomever. But the one thing every team would always say is that, you have to play a certain style in Brazil, and then you'd have to change that style when leaving Brazil. Now, your team and Liquid always seem to be two of the best at doing that. Nip obviously caught up pretty quickly. But what is it that you find that holds your region back when playing the Brazilian style of Rainbow Six?
I think it comes a lot to what I've mentioned about preparing for the teams. I think it's not even about the enemy team. It's more that we play differently because we choke. We choke. We maybe have a higher standings for those teams than when we play against Brazilians because we know we can beat them. So it's maybe something about the pressure as well. But we have those moments. Oh, now a hero moments like wanna play, make some plays that doesn't necessarily make sense. I don't know. It's just like the last Invitational, we lost 7 rounds in a row against Fnatic. We were 5-0 We had to win 2 more rounds to go to the next phase, and we couldn't even manage one. We couldn't even manage one single attack because I don't know. We got nervous. I think I failed as an IGL. I failed as being able to make a strategy and make calls, and maybe some other players from the team tried to replace that, since I was not doing my best at doing that, and the strategies were not up to par. We were making some crazy rushes. If you see the game, we were just going in the tunnel from clubhouse, like rushing straight up because we didn't really have a plan. I think we were not as prepared as we could be for that tournament, and I kind of lost the grasp, the confidence from my teammates over time. It's one of the reasons why I think I left. It's because they have a different understanding of the game that I have. Some of them they want to play very aggressive, very loose sometimes, and I'm more of the strict pattern. Okay, let's play aggressive sometimes. Let's do pocket strats, but let's try to work as a unit. Let's try to work as a team. Let's play more cohesive. Let's communicate more. And we always had a lot of issues with communication. There are some players that are very silent. It's very difficult to play Rainbow Six when that style, because you need to communicate. You need to say everything you're seeing, to understand the defense, to analyze everything, to know when to rotate and stuff like that. So I don't even remember the question.
The question was about Brazilian Rainbow Six and how you have to play a certain play style in Brazil, but then when you play teams outside of Brazil, it doesn't tend to work as well.
Overall, I think the level is higher in other regions, especially in Europe, over the years. NIP now, it's pretty much like the best team in Brazil, you can say right now. They won the major and they placed second at Invitational, so you can say they are stepping up the level, especially because Pino and Muzi were really big additions. Like Pino is having probably the best. Like I'd say right now, if there were a title for a Brazilian best player, I'd go with Pino for Brazil. For the Brazilian player, not around the world, but for the Brazilian player, I'd go with Pino, because of his impact in the Invitational. Like, not even about the stats, but his impact in the rounds were crazy, right?
Mhm.
So, but the difference in play style is not even that big. I don't think like it. I always see people on Reddit and on forums saying, "Oh, Brazilian players are way too over aggressive, and European are more strategic, more slow." But every time we go to a boot camp, every time we play in the international, the European teams are rushing us with one minute in the round, and we're like, "Okay, yeah, we are aggressive. They are just rushing straight up and don't even care." Like we played against Sleben and the Sonics guy,
Yeah.
Sleben and the other
Comfy, yeah.
Gunfy, and they were just crazy, like rushing with 10 seconds in the round. Or we never saw that in Brazil, so I don't believe it's LATAM is aggressive and EU is passive and NA is the middle ground. I don't believe that's true. I think that changed a lot over the years. Nowadays the play style it's pretty much more like consistent overall. The top teams, at least, everyone is copying SSG, especially on some defense. Like, yeah, you can see the strategy. The meta is pretty much.
I wonder, and I don't want to get into the whole. I hesitate to say this because I know that it's going to stoke certain flames of people who say this, but I've always kind of felt that when the general public, and I mean, I don't disagree that the Rainbow Six style of gameplay in Latin America within LATAM is oftentimes really aggressive, and one thing that I've heard from teams before, and I'm just trying to preface what I'm about to say. One thing I've heard from teams before is that teams play, especially some of the lower LATAM teams, they play really recklessly. They don't play with a ton of strategy. Way back a couple years ago, seasons ago, there were LATAM teams that would openly admit to me that, we don't really pick operators because of their utility. We pick operators because the guns are comfortable and we can shoot better with them. And then we build strategies around that.
The infamous Twitch.
Yeah. Like, and there are certain operators, like why was Buck so low in pick rate in Brazil for so long while Sledge was really, really high? And I had to ask at one point, I was told, well, the L85 is an easier gun to control. Then the C8 gets fixed, and now the C8 is easier to control, and now Buck is on the menu. And there's no doubting that, Brazilian teams are super aggressive, but I've always wondered if the general public kind of demeans Brazil by just saying, oh, they're all aim, no brain. And I wonder if that's why some people say that, and it comes from that spot where it's like, oh, they think that EU is really smart with their gameplay, but then EU is just as aggressive as Brazil is, and Brazil is just as smart as EU is. So I wonder if it's just like people. I think it's just people like shit talking Brazil, and I think that's where it comes from, and I think those people are wrong. But the question that I wanted to ask you, like I said, is the interregional meta that Brazil has, why doesn't it export? Because the one thing that always stands out in my mind was I think it was Julio. He said at the Raleigh Major that we've learned more scrimming, G2 for a couple hours.
Oh, yeah.
Than we learned from scrimming Brazilian teams because, EU brings a different level of strategy. So that's why I just wanted your perspective on it.
I agree, but at the same time, I remember speaking with Yunus and Shaz and some other guys from G2 and Penta, and they said like we don't really have a strategy. Like we don't really have a structured way of playing. We just kind of play loose and communicate and do stuff. And that was back in like year 2, right? Maybe earlier, year 3. They just won because they were just better. They were literally better. They didn't have like, oh, let's do this and that. No, they just gun skill and stuff like that and adaptation. So meanwhile, I'm trying to get like a C4 pixel with that goes through 4 holes that I throw in the bridge from Oregon.
Was that Oregon? Yeah, the Oregon attic.
Like,
that one
how is that not a strategy? And that is very, very strategic based, right? From CS:GO and from other games. It's something you don't see that many teams doing, that many players doing. So I don't agree with LATAM teams not being strategic. I understand what Julio is saying when it comes to practice, because when you practice with most Brazilian teams, they just peek, they just rush outside with no info. How is that allowed? I don't know, but yeah, the practice is not like when we screamed Dark Zero back in FaZe. They were one of the teams that we screamed from NA. They would never like do dumb stuff. They always went back to their default and tried to win based off of that. So based off something on the strategy, like no one is rushing outside making like catching a kill, and then that doesn't happen because you're there to practice your strategy, right? You're there to practice something you can consistently rely on in the game. So they are like for example on basement in Consulate, they would always get 1 or 2 drones and always go back to garage and try to win on that defense, like with Mira, with smoke, with C4s, with their utility, right? They wouldn't like pick CEO, for example. Like, so Brazilian teams don't have that understanding. They think, okay, I'm gonna pick CEO, and if I die, I die. If I kill, I kill. Okay, it's the game. But it's very few teams that have that knowledge. I think Liquid is one of them. I think Black Dragons is one of them. Maybe NIP, but even then, like sometimes you can see them going off. It's something that is the biggest difference for me from European teams and NA teams for LATAM.
Yeah, I don't think it. Yeah, I don't think it extends across like the top teams in Latin America. Like I feel like most of the top teams in Latin America are very similar to like the top teams in NA for me. I feel like the EU teams actually play a lot different. I do think the EU teams are like probably the most aggressive at times. I feel like a lot of the top EU teams just have like a guy that does whatever the fuck he wants and like he'll just rush in out of nowhere. Like a lot of like just have one guy that all the time. Whereas like Brazilian teams, it's a bit more, or like the top Brazilian teams, it's more strategy overall. So I don't think it's necessarily fair. I think it's been taken from like statements like Coolio made, where it's
I mean, the level of play, especially in Tier 2 and Tier 3 in Europe, is much higher than Tier 2 and Tier 3 in LATAM. And I think NA as well suffers a bit from that. You don't see that many Challenger League teams like being able to hold against the top teams. And even in EU, you can find some random Tier 3 team that somehow it's really, really good, so because you have a lot of national leagues, a lot of teams overall, like, so
yeah. I think like I said, there's a lot of these statements to me like come from a place of, well, one, I mean, it's a lack of understanding. I still think that there's a huge portion of our community that, mostly because we don't have the tools to dive into like the nitty gritty of the game, that there's just a lot of people who don't have a really deep understanding. And I know Troy would say I'm one of those people. But I think that people, when they don't understand, they just kind of fall back on, really easily digestible, understood arguments like, oh, this region is too aggressive. Like, everybody gets that. It doesn't matter your knowledge of the game. And, I do think that in terms of a region, I do think that Brazil stands out in terms of how good their gun skill is. But does that make them more aggressive? Not really. It just means they win their gunfights more. And as you pointed out, sometimes it might mean, because we have such good gun skill, we can just take fights, hero plays, that a lot of other regions might not, because they're not as skilled to be able to pull it off. And it would give people the wrong impression, thinking like, oh, well, all Brazil is just them taking gunfights. But in reality, it's not. There is a lot of strategy behind it. But they can take gunfights more because they know they're going to win them. And we see that in every region. EU, NA, APAC, there's lots of teams that take gunfights simply because A, there's very little downside if you lose, but B, you win it more often than not. And I know that people like to shit on Liquid for Atlantic City because they're like, oh, they abused Lion. The strategy that Liquid employed to effectively use Ashe and Ying and Lion in just their attacks alone was a better strategy than every other team that showed up at that event. So how can you sit here and say that they don't use strategy, right? So that's the thing for me is
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is Liquid a world champion?
Oh my God. Why you want to start a fight?
Oh, let's make this fun.
So
come on, man.
So here's what I will say. Here's what I will say, because now I have to defend this statement. I always have to defend this statement. Ubisoft since the 2018 Six Invitational, which was before Team Liquid won in Atlantic City, since SI 2018, Ubisoft has referred to the Six Invitational as the World Championships. Therefore, the only teams from that point onward that are world champions are those that win the Six Invitational. Based on that definition, no, Liquid are not world champions. Now, I know that a lot of people say they are because they beat teams from all over the world. Consider it how they want. But then technically, every single team that wins DreamHack, are they also world champions? Because in theory, they should be under the same criteria, right? If winning a Pro League Finals makes you world champion,
the top tier tournament, right?
Right, but it's not the Pro League Finals aren't the top tier tournament either. Six Invitational is.
At that time is.
Well, no, because SI was still technically there.
It was before, but there's an interval of 1 year, right? Ooh. 1 year between tournaments. So.
Well, and then Paris was coming up too.
Yeah, see, that's when you get into the when does it matter, right? Because
it wasn't the top tier. I wouldn't call it the top tier.
If you go back and you look at the language that Ubisoft used, prior to the Six Invitational really being a thing, when there was still Xbox and console, they used to call the teams that won the first couple seasons of Pro League world champions, because there was no like global competition. That's why in their press release, Continuum in season 3 were called world champions. Youngtus back in season 2 were called world champions. Pento were called world champions back in season 1. But then after Six Invitational, they changed the language they used, because the idea was that Six Invitational is now supposed to be the world championship. Personally, I don't really care that much. If Liquid want to call themselves world champions, like fine. If we're going by like Ubisoft's official definition, they made the game, they make the events.
Yeah.
Then technically Liquid are not.
I just made you this question because I'm tired of getting this question on my streams, because I've started streaming.
I get tagged by Brazilian fans like once a week about this question. Still to this day, I get tagged like once a week. So
yeah, like does it really matter though? Like they won a big title with teams all over the world, so
it's still a big deal. I guess my only thing is like the distinction between winning them, because I do think like the pressure and like the scale of the event is different at like Invitational, even like a major, like, but like the Invitational pressure is different.
You're only saying that because you won an invitation.
I'm not. No. I would say the same thing when I lost, man. And I didn't count. I wouldn't count my 2017 when I lost, because to me it's always been like if you lose at Invitational, to me you wasted your whole year.
I agree. Yeah.
Like that's the culmination of the year. The whole year I'm playing to be the best
those losses
you can be for Invitational.
They hurt, yeah.
So that's why it's such a big deal to me, because there's a different level of pressure, because it's the whole year kind of building up.
And it's an open qualifier system, which I think also gets overlooked. Like not only is it the biggest, most, highest pressure event, it's the one that's in Montreal where the game is made. It involves the hammer, like it's a symbolic victory. The prize pool is the biggest, but it also has open qualifiers. And still, now they've made it even bigger, right? We have 3 majors a year now. Obviously, because of COVID, we're not having them the way they should be. But now there's going to be, there's going to be 20 teams competing. There's going to be 4 open qualifier spots. Like they're trying to push Six Invitational to be like the biggest showcase. And if you want to call something a world championship, to me, it's the biggest event, which is Six Invitational. Now, all of this has been said. They just debuted the World Cup, and you're gonna fucking call the team that wins that world champions.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like if Brazil wins the World Cup, then technically they're world champions. But then Six Invitational, it's like, what the fuck are we gonna call it?
Well, don't you gotta call them World Cup champions?
World Cup champions, but then that's the championship of the world. See how fun this is?
It's not the same, man.
I have to deal with this. I have to deal with this once a week. And then the only thing I will say that irritates me, the only thing that irritates me personally, is a lot of people will say to me on Twitter, like, oh, it's just because, a North American doesn't like Brazil. So like the moment that Brazil wins something, it's no longer a world championship. And I would like to say 3 things. I'd like to say 3 things. 1, I really like Brazil a lot. If you're saying I don't like Brazil, you're wrong. Number 2, I was calling it the World Championship before Liquid won Atlantic City.
I think you should ignore what Parker said anyways. Like, I don't know. I like, even with like the year 1 season, when I won year 1 season 3, like, okay, maybe at the time, maybe I thought it was world champ. Dude, you could not catch me telling you that was a world championship right now.
It says it in the press release. This is the funny part. Is like the
I know,
Ubisoft
but
press
like
release says like Continuum our world champion.
It's not the same. So like maybe people were saying at the time it's not the same. I'll tell you it's not the same, and I won it. Like it's not.
Yeah. The only thing that irritates me is that
I'm sorry I brought this up, guys.
This is
You're
no.
good.
I want this on the record.
I think it's interesting.
I want this on the record so that now when somebody asks, I can just show them like a clip.
Okay.
But no, the only thing that irritates me is that it saddens me when Brazilian fans think that I have that opinion just because I don't like Brazil. Because I like Brazil a lot.
Oh, but Brazilian, everyone, like people from Brazil, they always have that mentality. Oh, everyone is against us. Everyone hates us. Even CS:GO is happening right now with Gaules and the MIBR team.
MIBR just dropped Taco and Fur just like moments ago.
What?
Yeah, MIBR dropped Dead, Taco, and Fur.
Really?
Yeah, just now. Like literally moments ago.
Holy! I don't think even my teammates know that, but that's big. Damn! I mean, they were shitting the bed all over, but it was obvious some kind of disband was going to happen. But Fur, I mean,
Fur's been with that team for ages.
Fallen and Fur has been together since like 2012, I think. Yeah, 2013.
They were on Luminosity. They were on Luminosity. They were on SK. Now they're on But,
holy.
Yeah, the only thing that bothers me is it's like because of
2014.
Sorry, 2014.
2014. Yeah.
Because of the whole Liquid thing with Gohan, and because of me saying that I didn't feel like Liquid were world champions, people think that either A, I hate Brazil, or B, I hate Team Liquid, and both of those are incorrect. Like, this is the Jersey Zig war when they won the championship. Like, I've always been a big fan of Zig. I like Team Liquid a lot, and I think obviously Brazil holds like a special place in my heart because it was my first event. You know, the fans are incredible. Like, the players are incredible. I like cheering for LATAM teams. I've cheered for LATAM teams in most finals that they've been in. So it's like, it saddens me, like personally, like makes me sad when I read, because I can't read it because it's in Portuguese, right? So I have to translate it. But it personally makes me sad when somebody's just like, well, Intero just hates Brazil. Or, you know, like, and obviously it's because a lot of them think I'm American. They're like, you know, they're like, Americans hate Brazil. And it's like,
it's not everyone. Like, it's the small minority, right? But they are very loud. They are very, very loud.
I just want, for the people that are watching this, I just want people to understand. Because I know I'm not going to be able to reach all of them. But I want the people that are watching this to understand that there's no fucking universe in which I dislike Brazil. I like Brazil very much. I think it's a cool country. I like the teams. I've enjoyed all my time there. So it's like, I just want that on the record, because I'm tired of like getting tagged in things and then having people say like, oh, you know, he just hates Brazil. It's like, okay.
You're not fooling me,
but for some reason that is actually in our culture. It's just like when you see the audience booing teams. You saw that in Brazil. It's normal.
Yeah, but booing teams is great. I love that. By the way, when the Brazilian fans were booing G2 and Penta, I was like, fuck, keep going. I joined in. I was in the crowd when Black Dragons beat Penta. I was in the crowd standing in Max 5 booing with them. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but in some cultures you can think that as being like very disrespectful, like especially in Japanese culture. You'll never see a crowd in Japan booing another team. That doesn't happen, you know. So for some people that is, I mean, they don't have the same mentality as you did to, it's for fun. They might take it more as an insult than
It was up until, and this is a bit of a somber note, up until my tweet about Icy Cat passing away, my second most liked tweet of all time was the Team Liquid qualifying for Montreal 6 Invitational handshake Brazil Canada flag penis tweet. Like the penis that's like the flags with the handshake, which is so fucking funny. When Liquid won OGA Pit and qualified for 6 Invitational, I was like, congratulations, Team Liquid, see you at 6 Invitational. And it was like the Canadian flag shaking hands with the Brazilian flag in the shape of a penis. That thing was my second most liked tweet of all time. It had like 11,000 likes. Jeez. It just blew up. I don't understand. Like,
yeah, Liquid fans are amazing. They are.
I couldn't believe it.
They are by far the biggest, I'd say, for one team. Maybe now TSM with Polo, but I still think Liquid for one team, like that has more like the cheering and stuff. We had a lot of interactions. Like Liquid is very social based. Yeah.
Yeah. What was I gonna say?
You do, of course. Yeah.
And then like the Neymar day that happened.
Oh my god.
recently.
that
where
everyone switched
everybody
the
in
profile.
it. Dude, I woke up and I had like 49 tweets at me, being like, "Add Intero, change your picture. Add Intero, change your picture." Blah blah blah. And I was like, "What is going on? Why is half of the country of Brazil tweeting at me?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" I was like, "Yeah, I'll change my picture."
I tweeted something like completely unrelated to Siege, like completely unrelated to Brazil. Like I forget what I even tweeted. It was something dumb. Like I just like something stupid happened to me and I tweeted it.
Yeah.
And anyways, I'm like sitting in bed and all of a sudden I get in the team group chat. They're like, "Trey, why are all these Brazilians responding to your tweet with like a Neymar picture?" And I was like, "What the fuck's going on?" And I look at it and it's just literally the whole, like no one else responded to the tweet. It was just Brazilians telling me to change my picture to Neymar.
Dude, that's incredible.
It was something else.
So let's keep.
You know, Troy. There's also an account on Twitter. I don't remember.
I know that one.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know that one.
Is that the one there's one of me as well, where it puts our faces on like sexy ladies'
everywhere
bodies?
around the world.
Yes.
No. The one I'm talking about for Canadian, I think it's where he's putting it everywhere
Canadian
on the roads.
Vascaíno?
Vascaíno, yeah.
Yes, that one. And it's literally this picture of me from when I just joined SSG at DreamHack Montreal. And it's just the same picture every time, just on random places, like random shit. It's still going.
It's funny, man. That is so funny.
There's the one I remember.
I need to find this.
Dude, I remember when my mom got Twitter, right? She's like the Intero mom account or whatever. And one of the first times she tweeted that Intero Gustoso or something like that account that is literally it's all just like half naked bikini women with my face on it. And I remember she tweeted something and that account responded to her and she's like, "What the fuck is this?" She's like, why is there a Twitter account of like sexy women with your face on it? What is this? And I'm just like, how do I explain this to my mother? I don't even know what it is. Like, how am I supposed to tell my mother about this? Like,
Brazilian fans are the most random, like, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. They're crazy.
I didn't know what to say. I still don't know what to say. And every now and then they'll respond with like another picture of like a porn star with my face on it. And I'll be like, okay. I was like, what?
That was where it started. Yes, it was the pictures of me and you together.
Yeah, it was like there was the one on the side of the road with the motorbike or whatever, and it's like you're in my head. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I don't. And then
Canadian Vascaíno.
Yeah. What does that mean?
You know that joke? It means because there's a team in Brazil we call Vasco that always places second, right?
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Don't be too upset about it.
It's all right. I got my trophies.
I've been called Palmeiras a lot. That is another team that never wins world titles, but wins everything in Brazil.
So that's so good.
It's similar as well.
Oh, that makes it so much better now that I know what it means. That's my goodness. So, in keeping with Brazil, they announced.
I didn't know that, bro.
Canadian Vascaíno. You didn't know that? I was sure.
No, I just thought it was random pictures, and I thought it was funny.
Oh my god, dude. Okay, so
that makes it even better. But
in keeping with Brazil, World Cup was announced. If you are the general manager of Brazil, under the guidelines that they have, you can't pick more than 2 people from one team. What is Team Brazil? Who is on Team Brazil?
My question depends on how much time you have to prepare. Like if it's 1 week, they only have 1 week and that's it. It would be Pino for sure, Nask for sure, Paulo for sure, and then you need to put an IGL, so Psycho, and False for the 5th player. I think it would be a very skilled lineup. You need 2 from NIP, Nask and Paulo from Liquid. I think Ion is in great shape right now, but he you cannot replace Nesk Paulo. It's way too difficult. It's yeah. Um, unfortunately you need to left Muzi out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Muzi is insane as well. Maybe you could make another lineup. If you replace Psycho with Yona to as a fifth, Yuna could do some IGLing, and then you add Muzi and Pino. That would be another lineup. But it all depends with how much time they need to prepare. I think the lineup with Psycho would be a little bit would be stronger than the second one. But yeah.
So Nesk, Palu, Pino, Psycho, and Falls is your lineup.
Yeah.
There's people, by the way, that are in chat right now that are agreeing with you. I think Ali Mao said that was the same as his.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it is one of the lineups people have been talking. Yeah.
That's interesting. See, because I figured you're gonna have to have Palu and Pino in there. They're too good right now. Palu and Nesk in particular. I mean, it's they're. I mean, the stats for both of them are just absolutely stupid.
You're just
so good.
You're trolling if they're not on the lineup.
Yeah, like Paulo has a KDR of like 1.5, something you may have in ranked. He has in competitive play. So
Ali Mao just said that Falls is the best player in the world. You believe that? You agree?
I mean, he's really good, but I still think Nesk is the best player in the world. I told you that a couple years ago. Yeah.
Interesting. Who's coaching the team?
I'm not sure. I mean, could be anyone. Maybe there are some really good coaches, but if you actually look at it, the best team from Brazil doesn't even have a coach. So
that's true. Yeah.
You have Gile, you have Silence, there are a lot of options. I don't know how it's gonna be doing the voting. I'm a coach now, so yeah, maybe people think I could be good for that.
Couldn't you be the IGL?
No, so Psycho is in a much better phase right now. I'd go with Psycho over me all day, for sure.
Okay.
And you, Troy, what's the Canadian lineup?
The Canadian.
We're gonna dig deep on this one.
See, man, like you just have like this plentiful fucking sea of players to pick from.
He's like, do I want Muzi? Do I want Pino?
Right?
Palu?
Like he's like Pino, Nesk.
I mean,
Muzi,
who am I gonna pick?
Astro.
Like who am I gonna pick? And then in Canada, it's like, maybe Flynn's gonna play.
Same with the USA team. Like,
is Intero gonna play? We don't know. We might get desperate. Like,
I mean, I know Fox is on the team.
Yeah, that's like the no-brainer. Now, do next one.
Bojo.
I mean, that's I don't know the lineup. Like, I can't say right now because like I feel like I'm
just got put on the spot and you did it. You got to do it as well.
Yeah, but like I feel like I'm gonna end up actually having to pick the lineup, kind of. You know?
Excuse me, I'm running for general manager.
Aren't I gonna be involved? Like, I feel like I'm gonna end up being involved in it.
Well, yeah, your name is Canadian. You're gonna be on the Canadian team.
I don't know. Like, maybe I gotta sit down and fucking discuss with my colleagues.
He would be on the fucking team. Like, you can't just not have him on the team. Like,
I gotta sit down.
So that's all I need to do. I need to switch my name. I don't think it works
You're
like
on
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I said that you take Quartz and Silence because of their synergy already in the Canada division. Unless somebody steps up real big in Canada division this time around, you take Quartz and Silence because of their chemistry. They're also young. They've got promise. You put them on a team with Foxe, Jarvis, and Troy. Hojo could play if he wants to, by the way, but I suspect he's probably going to want to coach.
I feel like I'd want Pojo to play just so I don't have to play Heartbreach. Like,
no, you're on Heartbreach. You can't avoid.
Like, I want to let Pojo play like Smoke Therm. Let me loose. Let me get crazy.
Back to the Ash days.
Yeah, man.
sounds
A lot of people don't know, man. Ness told me one time that he used to look at my Ash play, bro. Like, what a time to be alive.
Yeah, he used to look at it and be like, "This is what not to do."
He did tell me that, bro. When he was on BRK.
I will not aim like that. I will be. He'd look at your Ash play and be like, "Look at what not to do."
What a time to be alive, man.
Yeah, I don't know where he is, but I want to confirm that because that sounds dubious to me. Like, sounds like
hey man,
you're full
that
of
was
shit, man.
That was a long time ago. That was a long time ago.
Okay.
I used to be a threat.
It's a
Ness
closed
doesn't
alpha?
even speak English. He can barely order a McDonald's. How the fuck is he going? Well, I'm sorry about that. How is he going to say, "Oh, I envy your Ash"? He doesn't even order a Big Mac, dude. Like, okay, we'll pretend that's true. Okay.
Yeah. But
He's looking at. He's like, hey. Look at this.
Probably.
Why you do that? Don't do that. Look at this bot.
I think Fox and Poge for sure, and then I think the last three I'd be looking at like Jar, Brian, and Quartz.
You think about bringing Brian in?
I love Big Bri.
I know you love Big Bri. You're a Big Bri stan. I love Brian too, but there's part of me that's thinking, and I only picked Silence and Quartz just because of Mirage's success. But for me, it's like I love Brian to death. But and I honestly, I kind of waffled on Jarvis as well, but I have to say Jarvis because I feel like I would get very angry text messages if I didn't want to put him on the team. For me, I think that team, like, I don't think we're gonna win. So it's like for me, what'd you say?
Really?
I mean,
you don't think so?
I don't think we're gonna win. But what I would
put up a good fight.
We could put up a good fight, but for me, if I'm the general manager, we're in rebuild mode.
Yeah.
You know, that's why you take a couple young gunners. Maybe you look at Storms. Maybe you look at Shima. Take some of the young gunners from the Canada division, put them with you or Pojo or Fox or whichever veterans are on the team, or even Jar. Maybe have Jar as a coach. Have Jar and Pojo as coaches, put you and Fox A on the team, pick up 3 young gunners, have them learn and grow, because frankly, and I don't say this to demean Canada division, sorry Canada, I think that 3 younger players playing with you and Fox, with Jar and Pojo as the coach, will learn more, even though it's not a serious tournament. I think they'll learn more from that experience than they will playing in Canada division.
How can you say it's not a serious tournament?
Because teams aren't going to have a ton of time to prepare. Teams are still going to be like, I mean, we don't really know the schedule, right? So we don't know how much time they're going to have to play. But I mean,
Okay,
and like, and we don't know how seriously some teams will take it.
Yeah.
Exactly. But let's just pretend it is like a very, very big prize pool. I don't know. But
could be.
Teams might take it more serious than you think. Not even.
No, I think they
not
would.
even because of the prize pool, but it's because of the prestige you have of being something so unique, like to being the champion of something with your country, your flag on it. It's like
some regions have an inherent advantage, though.
Yeah.
Like
it does. Yeah, that's true.
France
But
and Brazil are starting off on with both of those. Both of those countries have such huge and US, yeah. America, France, Brazil. Those are the 3 countries that I think have the biggest advantage right now.
Yeah.
But
Russia will be good too.
Russia will be. The only problem I foresee is that, I mean, you're going to pick 2 off of Empire, you're going to pick 2 off of VP, and then
Germany as well, right?
Yeah.
Germany.
Yeah, Germany, because you'll pick aces. I mean, that's a no-brainer. You're probably taking aces and Corey. Then you look at Orglis.
Secret. You can get Hungary as well.
Or Secret, yeah. Then you get Hungary. Yeah. That's not a bad.
It is a strong lineup.
Yeah. Germany's strong. Russia's strong. Karzeka is Estonian. He can't play.
He's got a tough.
Oh, damn. What about Hyper? He's gonna play for Greece?
No.
We don't. He's American. I don't. That's like when
he's American. He just
Vietnam
that's just on the page, but he's not like.
Yeah. That was like Chapstick. Chapstick set his flag to Vietnam because he's Vietnamese, which is why the old ominous team had the Canadian flag, because even though he was American, his flag was set to Vietnamese. So, but I mean, that's what I would do with Canada. Brazil is gonna. I imagine that like Brazil, France, Germany, Russia, and probably America are going to be like your top 5 teams. Japan is going to be good as well. I mean, even Australia, I think could do reasonably well. You know, Virtue is going to be able to play for that team now. So you're going to be able to take 2 off of Fnatic, 2 off of Wildcard, and then Virtue.
Yeah.
And now you've got your Australian team, right? Like,
I think it will be.
UK team will be.
UK is going to be good as well.
UK, yeah.
You know, but for me,
there are a couple of countries that will be competitive. It should be good.
My depending on how the brackets work, I think that France and Brazil is probably the no-brainer for the finals, in my opinion.
7-1 is possible again, right?
Yeah. I know they're saying that if Germany beats you 7-1 again, but for me, it's if I'm Team Canada, I don't think if we go real hard in the paint and you pick on like, let's say you go with like proven talent and it's like Foxe, Pojo, Jar, Brian, and like Troy. Even then, I don't think it's a roster that's going to finish top 4. Maybe, but I would much rather have some smaller players get experience with people like Fox, with people like Poge, with people like Troy.
It's hard to have the same mindset going into that kind of event, you know?
Were you afraid that you're going to go in being like, I want to win, and then realize that like you're playing with 3 people that have never played at that level before?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's different expectations, I feel like, you know? Like, I think you can go in and play and, like you're saying, like, try to build stuff like that. But, like, that, again, that depends, like, on the scheduling and stuff like that, because, like, if we don't have time to practice, like, there's nothing to build. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if we don't have time to practice a lot, or if it's not worth it to practice a lot, like if it's more worthwhile to be grinding with your actual team.
If you don't have a lot of time to practice, you want to put as many gunners as you can, right?
Yeah.
And play loose and try to do some crazy things like you're not.
Yeah. But in that department, there's still like regions like Brazil and US that like are fucking stacked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But yeah.
It's gonna be an interesting one to watch. I have notoriously
there's still a lot to learn and figure out about it. So
yeah,
like we'll see.
I have notoriously kind of poo-pooed the idea of a World Cup in the past because I felt like there were already so many teams that would have a huge advantage. You know, back when Chaos was like a Swedish team, you know, you had BDS and Vitality when Vitality was a French team. You know, you got 8 fucking Brazilian teams that if they just export their whole team are probably going to win the whole thing, right? Like, but now that they've added this hard cap of 2 players per team, which is, it's like, on one hand, I think it's boring if Brazil just sent like Liquid or Nip. Like, it's boring, right? Because like you want to see people from different teams mix.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if I'm Brazil, fuck yeah, I'm sending Liquid or FaZe or Nip because you're probably going to win. Right? Like, but then France is just going to send BDS.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't know. How do you feel
I think
about adding
it's
the
fair.
limit?
I think the 2 players per team, it's fair. Maybe you could argue for 3, maybe 3, but
I think 3 is too much because then you just pick 3 players from one team, 2 from the other.
Yeah.
And they might have even played together before, right?
No,
like,
I think it's a good rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I agree.
But yeah.
I mean, with 2 players per team, you could assemble that original FaZe lineup of like cameraman, Gohan, Mav, Moringa.
I'm bringing the boys back together.
Yeah, get the band back together.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Here's my Brazilian lineup. My Brazilian lineup is Mav, cameraman, Astro, Moringa, Gohan. There you go, and it fits the rules as well. That's the team I'm setting for Brazil.
Awesome. Gohan needs to leave Valorant and come back to R6. Yeah.
You're on a reunion tour.
Yeah. No, that's never happening.
And then you
LB's my coach.
Oh my god.
Oh. Are you what was
I'm a lot
feeling?
more confident all of a sudden.
All right, so this is This is what I want to ask you. So, I mean, obviously, like, national pride is a big deal across the globe, but you've already touched on the fact your webcam just moved, by the way.
Oh, I'm moving my leg and then
Okay.
sorry.
How big of a deal was the announcement in Brazil for the World Cup? Was it well received? Because I feel like people are excited for it.
Yeah.
But like on Twitter, it was kind of like, woo, and like that was it. Was it a bigger deal in Brazil than it was, you think, outside?
A lot of people are talking about it, especially on streams, like the question of who's going and stuff like that. I was really excited. I've always like contemplated it. I don't even know if that's a word, but I thought about the idea of a tournament like this. I saw many people on Reddit that thought it was a good idea, and there were always some issues with that idea. That okay, how many people for each team? Like how much time they're gonna get to practice? How it's gonna be like? Oh, the calendar, it's gonna mess it all up. And I still have a lot of doubts. I still want to know more about like how it's gonna work. But I think it's nice. It's a change of pace. You know, it's something different, and I think Rainbow needs something like that. You know, I think it's nice that it happened in Overwatch. There are some downsides because you kind of get those like Olympic games where there's a country that's like the best at snowboarding and stuff like that, and then there's a country that never wins anything, and then you get like scores like 10-0. You know, I don't know if that's gonna happen a lot. Maybe like some US versus some smaller country, or Brazil versus some smaller country. Some games will be kind of boring because of the difference in skill level. But I overall, I still think it is a great idea, and I'm happy Ubisoft did it. Yeah.
No, I think it's cool, and it's a change of pace either way. Like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the very top, like the teams we've listed, like those will be competitive and like really good matches.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still think there's going to be good matches along the way, even with some of the countries that we didn't mention.
Yeah.
But like, I think the ones we listed are like the only ones that can like win the title, right?
Yeah.
Me personally, like I mentioned this, Parker, and Parker briefly brought it up. Like me personally, I'm just fucking competitive as hell. I got to get it out of my head and just like accept it. Like it's cool. It's awesome. It's like I get to represent Canada. I'm like, I think it'll be a fun event either way, but I gotta get out of my, like, I guess part of it for me, Parker, you can probably relate to this a bit, but like growing up in Canada, right? Like you always watch like the World Cup or like Olympic hockey, right?
Yeah.
We're always fucking nasty, right? Like,
in hockey, yeah, but in everything else, no.
Exactly. So it's like that. It's like I like when I like dream, when I think of like World Cup or like Olympics like that, right? Like I just think of Canada hockey.
Yeah.
And like, in my head I was like it's such a cool thing. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, but there's also those other sports that we're not very good at.
It's like, hey,
I mean, it's not to the same extent because I still think we're competitive. Like I still
You're
think
definitely competitive. I think you guys are undervaluing. You have a solid lineup at least. Like you're kind of going as the underdog at least against the US and Brazil, so you have that as a positive. So
yeah,
I mean, I think top 4 is definitely something achievable, and maybe even something higher.
I agree with that. I just got to get over myself.
You'll be fine. Now, I'm also realizing time. We're at 2 hours and 45 minutes, and this has been great. However, I don't want to keep us too long because we always shortchange the questions at the end. So, as we did in the previous video, there is a Discord server, which I'm going to spam the link in the chat here in Twitch chat. For those of you that are watching later on YouTube, there will be a link down below. We've actually started adding it. I know that for the last couple episodes I said I was going to do it, and I forgot. So for those of you that are watching in Brazil, please try to keep the questions in English because I can't speak Portuguese. So I can't read them and know what they're saying. But here is the link spammed for you. Questions for Matt. Sorry?
I'd like to think there were a couple of people in the chat translating everything I'm saying throughout the whole podcast.
Teqwave has been amazing.
It's been amazing. Thank you very much for that. I'm sorry, like it's it's a shame that language barrier exists, right? But thank you for doing like God's work and helping with that.
Yeah. Teqwave has been
that's awesome.
basically translating every part of this, and that's cool as hell.
Awesome.
So
That's
you all, it doesn't matter what language it is, you all have access to a heart emote of some kind. And please put that in the Twitch chat for Teqwave for being there. Now, we'll turn to the questions segment. And I appreciate, I know people have been asking about Rogue 9's video that went live today. It's too early for us to comment on it, so we're not going to comment on it. So don't ask questions about it. Try to keep the topics. Yeah, I watched a bit of it right before we went live. Haven't watched all of it. So don't ask about that or anything pertaining to that because it's still too early for us to weigh in on it. Try to keep the questions to Mav and to competition, to Brazil, to Latin America, etc. There is a part of the server called Questions for Mav where you will do that. And I will ask this question, even though it is a bit of a loaded question. It comes from ICPD, and he says, or they say, what do you think will take Latin America to the next level in terms of skill level? And I'm going to add my own part to that. Do you think that Latin America needs to do something to get to the next level, or do you think that you're on the same level as everybody else?
On mechanically or skill-wise, or
answer the question however you see fit.
If we go by the last international tournament, you can argue that NIP was destroying everyone mechanically. In my opinion, like you could see everyone was just insanely making shots you don't see every day, like Muzi, Pino, and
Troy knows that one.
Psycho, everyone.
No, the Pino garage oil pit shot on Fontt, where God. He was. we still joke about it. We watch it, and the camera, you can see Fontt's face. He just goes, like he's just in shock. Like he's like, I can't fuck it. And then the round ends, and like we're trying to keep it the game at this point, right? Like we're down in the series, like we're keeping the vibes up and stuff. And Fontt just goes, he's like. And round ends, I was like, Fontt, what happened? He's like, bro, you won't fucking believe the shit this guy just did to me. And I was like, all right, next round, boys.
Yeah. So mechanically, I think it's never been an issue. It's mainly mentality, and sometimes I think they lack a bit of cohesion, like going together, making like counts of maybe even like something simple like 3, 2, 1. I know Dark Zero and some other teams like to do that to make sure everyone is on the same page at the same time and not peeking before the teammate can refrag and stuff like that. I think that is something Brazil still needs to work on, but what it needs to be done, like it's something I wish I could say. I wish I could say that for my team and we stopped losing so much internationally, but maybe the new blood that's coming, and there are some young players that are coming, taking spots from Mav and stuff like that. So maybe, maybe they're the answer. I don't know. We'll see. There's definitely talent coming. There's definitely young players like 18, 19 that you can see they have the gun skill. So they just need to evolve in experience and mentally, and I think it's a matter of time. But that applies to all regions. So I think the game will grow in all regions. So
Troy, your turn for questions, by the way.
Yep. This is one. I don't know if it pertains to you, but I wanted to ask it because something I like as a competitor. It's a bit of a brutal question, how it's phrased. What's the hardest curb stomp you've ever experienced in a match? Biggest blowout, like most like convincing loss, I guess. Like for me, it was Paris Finals against G2. And you got fucking 6-2, 6-2, 6-2 for G2. That one. I don't know. Do you have one like that? I'm not sure. Like I feel like you've played a lot of close matches, but
we do have. We got stumped a bit, like in DreamHack Valencia. I think we lost. We only won one round against Listream in the semifinals. Alphama was playing Echo and was destroying us every round. Like we couldn't. Cameraman was with the IQ. I think he died 15 times in his scanner trying to catch the Echo drone. It was a smaller tournament. It was a minor, but still, like some losses were really tough. I don't even know if it's better to not get stumped, because if you lose, like we lost Fnatic 7-5, but we lost 7 rounds in a row, that's a loss. You go like, okay,
Yeah.
you could easily won. I think it was just better if we got 7-0, because then we are okay. They were better. Then we couldn't won. No way we could have won. But there are downsides for both losses.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
This question comes from 26 and says, what has been your favorite memory or experience in your Siege career? This doesn't even need to be in-game. It can be anything.
By far, Rio Finals. There's no. It was the tournament we got like in the finals, which was the my best internationally, and not only that, but there were like 20,000 Brazilian fans cheering and screaming our name. The teams I've been on were never like the most popular teams, because we were always against Zigueira, which everyone knows, like he's the bigger name, so everyone's cheering for him and stuff like that. So I'm not used to being like the guy cheered for. And that tournament, like I saw how everyone really wanted us to win, and yeah, Rio Finals for sure.
I can see that, wanting to play on home soil with the crowd behind you. I mean, I could imagine that the closest analog for Troy would be the SI Finals, being on Canadian soil, playing at home.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, SI finals are always special. So,
and those, honestly, like the Rio Finals were. I think we've talked about it before. We were casting in like a room under the stage. Mm-hmm. So it was like we were underneath. So they had the analyst desk in English in the stadium next to the Brazilian casters. But the French casters and the English casters were down underneath in like separate rooms. And we're in like this big concrete room under the stands. And even with our headphones on, listening to the match, you can hear and feel the crowd just explode. And it like sent shivers down your spines. And for me, the coolest feeling ever, and I don't know if it'll ever get topped, was in Sao Paulo, my first event. We're standing in the booth and Kix and I are casting match number 1. And right before the event starts, the crowd starts cheering and chanting, and just feeling just like this, it's like electricity just like build up, and just, I don't even know how to describe it. I was standing there and I just had goosebumps everywhere in Sao Paulo. And that to me is that so?
Yeah, São Paulo wasn't really my favorite, because not only did we get stomped by ants, now that I remember, I think we got destroyed. It was so hot, like so hot. I was almost like passing out, and I was a big guy, you know, and you feel like I actually needed to go to the bathroom almost, because I couldn't even take pictures with the fans. I was so like my pressure was low. I wasn't feeling very well. Like, yeah.
So that event was, I don't know, that one was tough for us too. That was the one where, I don't know if you remember, Parker, or either of you remember, it was on border against Ents, and BC's computer kept on having issues, and we kept on having to rehost.
You rehosted, like you'd play a round and then rehost.
Yes, and we were just sitting there in the booth, fucking cooking alive, because it was so hot. Just sitting there, like they're swapping in and out PCs, just trying to figure something out.
I made a joke on broadcast about BC, and I can't remember what it was. Fuck. I feel like ice cold. Bartosz, if he's still in here, he'll remember it. But at some point, I remember I made a dad joke or something about BC, about his computer being on fire or something like that. I can't remember what it was, to try and kill time. Oh yeah, I said his computer was from the BC era.
Nice. Good one, Parker.
I was a new caster. Cut me some slack.
But yeah, I think everyone has those moments, like a special moment, like with a crowd.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like for you, Parker, I think that was the first like real loud crowd of Siege, but it was also your first event casting.
It was also my first like esport gaming event ever.
Yeah, so like that.
So,
I think that would definitely factor in.
Yeah.
I think Mav, that was your finals, right? Like,
yeah.
And then not to mention, like, the crowd was also just fucking huge, home crowd in your guys' first
it's not
finals.
even-
biggest crowd
It's
we
not
ever
even.
had.
Just
It's
all
not
adding
even like
up.
the number, like, okay, 15,000, 20,000. It's a lot of people, but like the way they cheer, you know, they are like screaming. There you see guys like ripping off shirts and painting all over their bars and rah, going crazy. You know, it's something like you don't see it every day. Like it's different. You know, like Brazilians are crazy, literally.
Yep.
We had some pretty bad crowds, if I'm being totally honest. Like Sao Paulo's crowd was great. SI, I want to say SI 2018 was only good when EG was playing. If EG wasn't playing, the crowd at SI 2018 was quite bad.
I love the Japanese crowd.
The Japanese crowd were amazing. Atlantic City's crowd was pretty bad. The Atlantic City crowd, I feel like EG it got knocked out really early on, and they were pretty big favorites, I would say, of the crowd, but then they came alive when Liquid was beating the piss out of Pento, which was great. The Paris Major crowd was pretty bad. Rio was amazing. Milan was great.
Paris Major was okay.
Paris Major was okay when the two French teams played. After that, it kind of took a nosedive, and it perked up a little bit in the finals, but then the finals were so boring.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. Your fault, Troy.
Yeah, you could have done a better job, honestly, Troy. So, you know,
that finals was tough.
But yeah, Tokonami's crowd was insane, and we'd been kind of warned ahead of time. People were like, you need to be aware that like Japan is kind of like a mixed reception when it comes to crowds. Some crowds are really quiet and polite, and others are just insane. And we got the insane version, which was great. Milan was excellent. And I, you know, the pattern that I kind of started to see was it was like Milan and Tokonami were so good. Why? They didn't have teams there to cheer for.
Yeah.
They were just there to watch a great match.
Cheering for everyone.
Yeah. You know, and SI 2020s was good as well. Rio's obviously, I think Rio is probably the best crowd we've had so far. Though, if you hadn't made the finals, I do wonder what the Rio crowd would have been like.
I was going to say that. Brazilians are much like the US. Like if you don't have a team to cheer for, they become quiet. I remember they're actually the Brazilians cheered a lot for the Ants guys. I remember Wilkie like being like so happy with the fans and everyone was interacting with them. I don't remember why, because they were facing Black Dragons, right?
I know.
Yeah.
But they, I think no, it was in the previous match when they were against they played against us and another team.
Yeah.
But against the other team. Oh yeah, it was against EG. You guys had the crowd against you, yeah.
Wait, we played Ants.
Yeah, so Ants had the crowd in their favor. Like I remember, I remember every Brazilian was cheering for Ants, and I was like, okay, I don't know, but
it's a hard team to dislike, nice. Right?
So,
like you can't really dislike them. We talked about it with Uno last week. Like
it was a redemption story, right?
Yeah. And it's like I had a soft spot for Ents, but I mean, obviously, I've always liked Black Dragons. You know, I mean, I dressed up in all their shit. If you remember, on the analyst desk, I put on a Black Dragons jacket and hat. And it was like, that was one of the things where it's like, I couldn't have asked for like a better finals, because like you've got a Brazilian team on home soil and you've got the Ents story happening. Like no matter what, whoever wins that, it's a good story. So
if I remember correctly, Ants never won a single match before that tournament, right?
They went out in the quarters, I think, all except for one.
The year one, season one, they won their first match.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
that's it. The rest of it, they were always getting bounced in the quarters.
I'm still waiting for my redemption story. Yeah.
It's coming, Mav. We didn't think I'd get mine.
Who didn't
Oh
think
yeah,
that?
my father was talking to me like last week. We were talking about redemption stories, and he said you were definitely like the main storyline where someone came from like losing such a hard final in such a manner, like everyone actually making fun in a way of white stairs and stuff like that, kitchen stairs. I don't know how you guys call it, but
No,
and
white
then
stairs
you
is
go ahead
perfect.
and yeah. It's easy stairs, and then you go ahead and win it all. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that was it was rewarding.
You did redeem yourself, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's possible.
So, it's your turn for a question, by the way.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if we were going to keep talking. Anyways,
no, that's
the one I was going to ask. This is again something I can relate to, so I think it's a good question to ask. You're known for being very emotional and fired up during matches. Do you consider this a flaw or an advantage?
I think that question is good for you as well.
Yes,
right?
That's why I'm asking it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it can be a flaw, but it also can be really good, especially like when you have the crowd. Like in Rio, we had everyone cheering for us, like we said. Being emotional there helped so much. Like you can see the adrenaline. Everyone was playing better because you're hyped, right? But at the same time, when things start to go wrong, you can be emotional from the bad side of it, and it can go the other way, and you can choke, right? It happens with everyone, but I think maybe emotional players can happen more. I don't think I'm the most emotional player. I mean, I get really sad when I lose and stuff like that, but I try to keep my composure most of the time. But if I had to choose between being emotional and not being emotional, I would still choose to be emotional because it's I think it's the best way of playing the game. Like you can go the wrong way. You can choke sometimes. You can like the emotions can go the different side, but I think you can be your best player. You can be the best version of yourself when you are in that good state of mind, when you have the mentality, the focus, the I'm missing the term I want to say. Maybe you, but yeah.
I think you said it well.
Yeah, I don't think you missed anything. They did a good job.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I feel the same. I'd rather be emotional. I've even like messed with trying to kind of take it out of the game in a sense.
Yeah.
Like Milan, I remember Matt said it to me a bunch. And if you watch like VODs from Milan, you don't see me going crazy like ever, really. Maybe a couple rounds here and there.
I was worried. I thought you were broken.
No, a lot of people they're like, Troy, you're not doing anything. Like you're not screaming. What's going on? And I was like, I had to try to change something because we kept losing. And then we choked them along, the worst choke of them all, honestly. Like
yeah.
So it works both ways. I think it's something. It's hard to find a balance with it. I think what you said about having a crowd, I think, is a very good point, though.
It does make a difference for sure.
Like for us at SI, like it lets you build momentum in the other direction. Like if the crowd doesn't give up on you, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like you can be winning and they'll be cheering for you, and then if you start losing, like it's whatever. Like if it doesn't matter what the crowd does when you're losing, but like as long as like once you start winning again, they're right back there. Then it lets you carry the momentum.
The time I remember that we felt the pressure most was in São Paulo. But in Rio, we took the crowd in a positive way, and we made it something to aggregate, to made it us even better. But in São Paulo, we had so much pressure because we were coming in as favorites. Like we were in a better position than Black Dragons at the time. So the Brazilian teams were all rooting for us. Like the team that could win it all against Penta was us in the eyes of the Brazilians. and then we also had in what people thought a good bracket because we were playing, I believe, Mantis FPS, which was a new team coming from a pack for the first time, so they were kind of nobody knew what to expect from them, and then playing Ants, who had never won a single match at LAN, pretty much. So
we
had a
Mantis
lot
or
of pressure.
Eins?
One of them, maybe Eins.
I thought you were playing Eins. I was
Penta played Mantis.
Yeah, because I was going to say I casted you playing Eins.
Yeah, you have a great memory, Parker. Okay, we had a lot of pressure. We had a lot of pressure, and then once we started losing, and Kanto just started rushing and beating us and doing Kanto things, we choked. Nobody could speak. Everyone was dead. The team speak was dead, and the crowd can be something of positive, but can also be really, really negative. And that tournament was really negative for us. So that's why I don't really, even though São Paulo was a great event, it's an event that I try to forget, at least for the team. Yeah.
You guys have such different, different perspectives on these events than I do, right? Because for me, events are so low. For me, they're such low stakes. Like I'm leaving.
Well, yeah, no matter what, it's good for you.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Events can suck for me if my casting is poor or if the matches are bad, but for very different reasons than you guys, right? Like, for example, I never, ever in the rest of my life want to ever watch a match that I casted from the Paris Major. You know, as I'm sure you guys have matches and events that you don't ever want to think back on. For me, I never want, you want to torture me? You sit me down in a chair and you make me watch the group stages that I casted of the Paris Major. And I will say whatever you want at that point. You are getting whatever info out of me you want. I thought the matches weren't great, and I thought that my casting was horrific. Absolutely horrific. You know, but when I look back on events, there's a lot of things that shape it. The personal stories, the memories that are made, you know, involving what teams do what. The results play a big part in that. For me, it comes down to, can it set up storylines from that point onward? Raleigh was good because there was a couple good matches, but ultimately I don't think Raleigh was as impactful as it could have been when it comes to setting up storylines. You know, obviously Rio was the same thing. There weren't really great storylines that came out of Rio. There were great events, but like Fnatic crushing EG with a coach isn't really a storyline that will continue, right? Like FaZe making it to the finals is a good storyline, but unless it happens again, it can't really continue, right? Like, so for me, I look back on events and I don't really see any that I dislike. And I kind of sit here and it's like, I listen to stories from players saying, you know, oh, I didn't like this event. I think to myself, like, man, I got to party in Rio. Like I was on like the rooftop drinking champagne in a pool with the mountains around. And then Troy's like, I got beaten by a fucking coach. So it's like,
yeah, the tournaments themselves, like the after parties, the meetings, the friends that I made, of course, it's always amazing. It's something that I'm definitely gonna miss once it's over. But it's hard to overcome a bad loss when you think you're confident. You practice so much. You spend 16 hours a day in the game. You go like to 5 a.m. watching demos, watching VODs, trying your best to become something and to win it all, and you can't do it. It's tough, you know. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't say it's a bad tournament. It's just not as good as the others, maybe. Just not as good as Rio and
you still. An event's still good. It's just it doesn't.
It's bitter. You got it's bittersweet.
It's bittersweet.
Yeah,
sometimes there's a lot of bad memories with it.
I feel that. That was your question, yeah?
Yeah, that was
the question.
question.
All right, I got a good one here. I really like this one actually because I don't think this has been asked yet by anybody for any guest. So you're getting a new one.
Oh.
This is from TDT, and they say, was it difficult or frustrating knowing that FaZe didn't give much attention to the Rainbow Six roster on their social media, especially knowing how good the roster was? And if so, did it hurt the team's morale?
We kind of spoke a little bit before about like how FaZe interacts and how FaZe works, and like how it's such a big name, such a big company that we kind of expected it. To be honest, when we signed it, we weren't thinking, okay, we're gonna be the new all pop stars. We're gonna become like the main figures of FaZe. We're gonna have our names everywhere. We knew it's a side project for FaZe for the time, because Rainbow is still developing. You could argue it's a tier one. Sometimes people make a list of tier one games and they put it right beside Counter Strike, Dota, and League of Legends and stuff like that. But I think it's not still quite there. It's still some ways to go. And FaZe saw it that way. They have like their brand names, their Fortnites, their stars. So I don't think it frustrated the team. I don't think we really cared. We were kind of, sometimes we went to the management and said, "Oh, look, X org is doing that. Can you guys do that for us?" And they would say, "No, it's harder here in FaZe and stuff like that." And we kind of knew that was gonna happen, but in game, players don't really think about that. When you're practicing, when you're screaming, when you're trying to improve as a player, I don't think we're thinking, oh, they didn't tweet about this match. We don't really care, like. But yeah, I believe things will get better with time. I think FaZe is gonna have to do some changes from what I've heard about the way they work in some games. Maybe, I don't know, and I hope so for the players that are still there, that they do, because it's nice to have an organization that not only supports you financially but also supports you in other ways, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thank you for your answer.
That's it. You're welcome.
Let's see. Getting another question.
I've already got my next one ready, baby.
Oh, you want to ask it? Yeah. I had one. I was scrolling to it. No.
Yeah, go. You ask yours.
All right.
Ask it.
All right. Quick. Single best thing about the Brazilian scene and worst.
Single best thing.
Yes, best
the
and
fans.
Worst thing.
The best thing, the fans. The worst thing, the fans.
That's what I was thinking. Okay. Well, that was a quick one.
That was a quick one.
You asked it quick.
My question. Do you feel like your physical transformation, in brackets, congrats, man, has a positive impact on your gameplay? And for the third time, I will say, you look fucking good.
Stop it. I don't even know what to say anymore. You're making me feel awkward right now. I wanted to say yes. I want to say yes because I do feel better, like healthier, like more energetic, even though I look tired because of the plane and stuff like that. And I just arrived at the gaming house, so I am a bit tired. But
you literally flew last night, by the way. Thank you.
And
or yesterday, rather.
I want to say yes, but at the same time, when I was almost morbidly obese, I mean, I had 300 pounds, so I think I was definitely obese. I won the best player of the year award for Brazil, right? And once I lost the weight, I got kicked. So I cannot say that I got better, but I feel better. Maybe it's not translating in the game.
Maybe
I don't know.
You look good outside. Who cares what you're doing in game, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's funny, man.
I asked that, and I think it's important to ask that because there is I will say, kind of a well-earned stereotype of gamers being like kind of bad hygiene, overweight, doesn't take care of themselves. And I mean, if you look at a lot of esports, it's not that far off, but a lot of teams recently have started putting a really huge amount of emphasis on healthy eating habits, proper sleeping habits, regulating working out and time at the gym and exercise and all that jazz. And I just wanted to know if you'd noticed any impacts, because I mean, personally, I think it makes a huge difference, right? Like I've also slimmed down a little bit, and it's night and day. I just think about how shitty I felt a year ago. Like I look at pictures of me from last summer when I went back out west, and it's like, I look at them and I was like, that wasn't me. My face is huge. I was like, I felt like shit. I was tired all the time. And now it's like, I feel so much better. And I'm sure that helps.
Yeah, it's not even about the looks. At least for me, it was more about being able to do what I want to do, what I like to do. Like I remember I was at a Disney in Paris, and both in Paris and in Tokonami in Japan, and I couldn't stand for more than half an hour. Like my legs would hurt so much because of my weight. I had no physical preparation. I just couldn't even go to I couldn't stand in the line. In Disney lines, you stand for 2 hours at least for an attraction. So I was like thinking to myself, what's the point? I'm here, I have my friends and stuff, and I cannot even enjoy. So it's also for the looks, but it's more mainly because of the health, feeling good with yourself. And I think it helped. I think it helped, like, because I am more energetic, but I don't think my kick has any correlation with losing weight. There were a lot of things that happened in the team and mentally with myself. A lot of things happen when you are on an environment every day, practicing every day, and for so long with so many of those people. But I cannot say it helped because of the tracking of me getting kicked and stuff like that. And Raleigh was my best event statistically, and was the tournament I started to lose weight. So
I remember seeing you in the hallway, if I remember correctly. I remember seeing you in the hallway, and I was like, yeah, he looks good.
in Raleigh? No way.
When was the event that I saw you?
SI, yeah, for sure.
It was SI.
SI, I saw you and I was like, what?
Yeah, in SI, I had like 230, 240 pounds.
Yeah.
Now I'm at 180.
I'm surprised you were able to keep all that weight off with the SI catering, because it was shit.
Yeah,
it was really fucking garbage.
Yeah.
Stuart Ewan. I blame Stuart Ewan and Stuart Ewan alone.
Yeah,
the group stage was good.
The best catering was Milan, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Raleigh was good as well too. Raleigh was pretty good.
Raleigh was really good. My perception of catering obviously changed when I can't eat the same things, because most catering is like super carb heavy because they're cheap and they last forever. So you can just like throw a thing of pasta out and it'll sit there. For me, it's like I look at it and it's like, what can I eat today? Salad again? That's it? Awesome.
I actually didn't eat anything besides the things I want to lose the weight I lost. I actually still eat pretty much the same thing. I eat junk food, I eat pizza, I eat hamburgers. I just eat less of it. And I count everything. It's a little bit boring at first, but I count literally everything I eat, and that it is what worked for me. You download like MyFitnessPal or any app like it, and you keep track of what you eat. And a lot of people have been asking me for tips, for help, because they're struggling with their weight, especially on stream. And I intend to do some content on that if it interests people. But everyone knows what they need to do to lose weight, right? It's calories in, calories out. Even
walking for like half an hour a day can make a substantial difference. So
but I'd say it's like 90% nutrition and 10% exercise. It's pretty much everything you eat.
I've just started eating better. That's like it. It's like I used to eat garbage all the time, and it's like I would eat shit and I would eat out all the time. I mean, it's for me, especially when I'm traveling, I find it's really hard. I don't know about you guys, but it's like when I go to events, I just eat like shit. It's brutal.
Traveling makes it tough.
Yeah.
It depends on the culture and everything. Yeah. We just eat McDonald's.
Brazilian McDonald's is pretty damn good.
I'll
say that much.
It is. It is much better than the US.
Yes. Well, I think America has some of the worst McDonald's I've ever eaten. I don't get it.
Yeah, in Canada we just eat A&W.
A&W is good. Harvey's is good too. It's also Canadian. I don't know if they have Harvey's in Quebec. I don't know. Harvey's is like it's like the Canadian McDonald's to a certain extent. And I know that people are going to crucify me for that, but it's very good. Also, Saint Hubert, which is fried chicken in Quebec, is delicious. The Canadian Chick-fil-A.
Is it my
without
is
the
my
homophobia.
question?
What? It's your question, yeah.
Chick-fil-A is Chick-fil-A.
I've actually never tried Chick-fil-A.
It's
I've
overrated.
Heard it's pretty good.
It's
dangerous.
overrated. It's
I don't know, bro.
okay.
That's what I said at first, but then I've been living here, man. It's fucking dangerous. All right. My question. I guess we can shorten this because we kind of touched on it earlier. But basically, the question is, what would your Brazil, U.S., and Canadian World Cup teams be? So mostly we can answer a U.S. one. I think it'd be an interesting one to answer.
Oh,
We can all give an answer
I need to
that.
remember like all the players and stuff. Let me see real quick.
off to Liquipedia.
Yeah. I mean, US, it's really hard as well, right? If
Mhm.
Hyper can play, I'm definitely putting in Hyper. Hyper for me, it's a no-brainer. From TSM, man, because the thing is that I wouldn't know how to structure a team.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
You get a lot of fraggers, huh?
Yeah. I mean, he's achieved like the IGL for TSM.
Yeah.
So I think he's a really good mechanical player. I think he's really skilled. As an IGL, could work as well. And Merc, Bolo, Gio, holy. Yeah.
It's hard, honestly. The biggest thing for me is it's like finding who's right for each other, because I think I this might be a controversial take here, but I don't think there's a lot of difference between some players in the same role.
Yeah.
I think the big difference is how well they'll gel with each other. That's what I think is the bigger difference maker.
Bolo is playing more of a intermediate role, right? Flex role.
Yeah,
so
he's like flex second entry right now, I think.
Yeah, I'd go with Bolo over Merc, mainly because you already have Hyper to go as your entry and Zofia and stuff like that. So I think him. Then I think you need two from Space Station. Canadian is obviously for Team Canada, so I'd go with Rampy, Bosco, Fontt. I go with Bosco for the support role.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you have to take Bosco.
Yeah,
Bosco Rampy's who I'd take on SSG.
Yeah, I'm considering Fontt because he's also a nuts player, but yeah, I'd go with Rampy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. You have 5, right? Damn, it's a shame you have.
Who do you have IGL?
Oxygen. I picked Achieved.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't know how to rate their IGLing because I don't know their communication. It's very hard to rate an IGL on Rainbow Six.
Yeah.
I mean, who's the IGL for Oxygen? I have no idea.
Biologic is with Fox A is second.
You have
IGL,
to
right?
you have to play against them a lot, or you have to play with them to know.
Yeah.
Like you can't tell from watching. You can't rate an IGL from watching.
Yeah, people rate like TSM as a very gun kill team, but they also have good tactics. They are playing more structured. So I think Achieved could be good, and Achieved is a very good flex player. Like he plays really well on bugs, ledge, and stuff like that. So I think it's a solid lineup. Yeah.
I don't know if I could go with a full 5 because I'm also not going to be involved, so I don't really care who they pick. But it's like for fraggers, I think it's like Bolo, Hyper, Rampy are like the 3 you'd pick. For support play, I mean, who's going to be your hard breach? That's the question, right? I mean, hot and cold seems right now to be the no-brainer for hard breach, in my opinion.
My lineup doesn't have a hard breach, right?
Yeah.
But Bosco doesn't play hard breach. Yeah, I forgot.
No. He
and
could
they don't have time to practice, right?
He could. He can flex onto it. But
he definitely could.
I mean, depending on certain maps, especially if aces, and we also have no idea what the fucking meta is going to look like next year, right? So like we have no idea. Like maybe everybody's just not running hard breach; they're all running that stupid hard breach gadget. Who fucking knows, right? So
yeah.
For me, it's like if you're bringing a hard breach, it's I'd probably take Houghton. I mean, I think Hyper's great, but I would honestly go with like, you could even take like Mint and Houghton off of DZ and then replace Hyper on fragging with Rampy. And just have like Rampy and Bolo as like your 2 entries, and then like Bosco as flex, and you've got like Bosco and Mint for flex, Bolo, Rampy as entry, hot and on support. Like for me, that's like pretty well rounded, and it's like I feel like the IGLing style is good. My only worry there is it's like I don't know how active a leadership role Rampy or Bolo take on their teams. So
I could see that work. I see Mint as one of the smartest players. Like he's very intelligent, and putting BC as well as the coach for the team. I think
Laxing is good too, but I think the big problem with Lax is because a lot of people are probably gonna be like, "What the fuck? Why not Laxing?" I feel like I don't know if Laxing can just fit onto a team. I feel like he plays a style that forces a team to have to play around it to a certain extent, and I don't know if you can deal with that right away. I honestly don't know. It's too much of a question mark.
I can definitely see him fitting
in traditional roles. Like Lax doesn't fit into traditional roles, in my opinion. Like the traditional positions that teams play in the meta, like stuff like that. I think it's changing now. By the way, though, I've noticed him changing more and more as a player. But for a long time, it was like he's in not traditional like positions and spots, and like the way they play isn't traditional because he's like they literally don't have a player in a normal spot, you know.
I think that's because I think that because if they play around his position and it gets shut down, they can't fight back. We've seen that in lots of lands where it's like if Laxing gets shut down, that team struggles real hard. So it's like against really strong teams, if they can figure him out, and Fox has an off day.
I think that definitely changed a bit in recent. Like you can see Fox having a great matches. Vertigo, in my opinion, has the best aim in NA. Like he's insanely talented. Like very very good player. So the overall the roster is really good. But
who are you picking, Troy?
That's tough. I guess like Rampy, Bosco, Bolo, probably Skies.
I was wondering about Skies
and Hot. I don't know. I feel like you have to do Skies as the IGL, maybe. Like it has to be like Skies, Mint, maybe Achieve as the IGL.
Yeah,
I feel like Skies would be the best fit as the IGL though, for like the way the game would need to be played. I don't think Mint would fit as the IGL with that time.
Really?
I think Mint's a good IGL, but I think like you need you got to be building the fucking team, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Like this is going to be scrappy. This is going to be scrappy.
He's a little bit more like me. I can see him being a lot like me actually. He would need time for
I think Mint's like too cerebral and needs to settle in, whereas Skies can call it on the fly.
Well, you just got to build it up, kind of like
more of a shot caller. Yeah.
How good does this speak, by the way, for DZ right now that we're arguing over 4 separate DZ players? Yeah. We of like Hyper, Mint, Skies, and Hotten are all in consideration at the moment. So
I mean, I think there's a lot of players across the board in terms of like entry positions and stuff. Like Fontt could easily take an entry position.
Yep.
Vert could easily take an entry position. Hyper could make another one onto my roster. Like even Eclipse could at this point. Like he showed up huge in the major. Like there's those positions are like so up in the air. I feel like Bosco is like hard set as like the flex and support role. Like I feel like no one really compares in the region in that sense.
Yeah.
And then I think Hot's probably the standout hard breach.
Hotten, I think, is the best hard breach right now. And
I will say, like, out of the thing is too is like, so if you say like SSG, TSM, and DZ are the top 3 teams in NA, only one of those hard breaches is American.
Yeah, that's true.
That's another point, right?
Yeah.
Like
you got Geo who's going to be.
But I do obviously though, Hot stood out. Like he fucking had like MVP stats as hard breach in the major.
Yeah.
But
all right.
Cold drop like a 30 bomb against us in hard breach. We just
So this is the last question I'm going to ask, and then we're gonna say goodbye because you've given us 3 hours of your time, just a little over 3 hours of your time.
It's my pleasure.
And where was it? I lost the question because I scrolled down. Where'd it go? Well, how did I lose this question?
Get it together, man.
My bad.
I'm still thinking about like the MIBR changes. Damn, who's gonna
The
replace
CS:GO
Fur?
ones?
Yeah, who's gonna replace Fur and Taco, man? Like the
Dude, that's
Furia
huge.
guys are like forever in a contract for like binding for 10 years. So
Yeah.
I don't know who's gonna
Good luck.
replace them.
I don't know.
Oh my
don't
god.
follow
Okay,
it up
so the
anymore.
problem was that was the last question that was asked and I'd scrolled up.
Nice.
All right, so it comes from Captain Hobo 72 says, "Who was your favorite non-Brazilian team to compete against?"
That's a tough one.
Favorite team to compete against?
In recent memory, I'd say it's Dark Zero and Fnatic because it's the only teams we play every tournament. Like at Invitationals, we play Dark Zero. We lost. At Japan, we play Dark Zero with the sub. We lost. At Raleigh, we play Dark Zero. We won. And yeah, we seem to play them in Fnatic all the time, like the group stage with Fnatic as well. In both in Raleigh, both at Invitationals. I don't know. I think it's Dark Zero actually. Even though if we didn't play them as much, it's mainly because I like their style. I like their way of playing. I think it's very consistent. I like the way the strategies. I think they are a very very good team. Of course, they have some flaws, but they show that this major how strong they are. So yeah, I think Dark Zero probably.
I'll just ask
And
you
we
the
all-
question, Troy. Sorry.
And we also, it's the only team we scream from NA, so we know a lot about their playstyle and stuff like that. It's a team that are more into than some others that we don't scream as much.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Parker?
I was gonna say, what about for you?
For me, favorite? I don't know. I mean, this is gonna be a little fucked up, but I mean, one of my favorites was always FaZe because I liked playing against them and we always beat them. So
Why you have to do me like that, man?
like, it was like a sense of
Skyscraper doesn't count. Let's be honest.
Here's the thing.
It's Wild West.
The thing is that it was always good games, but it was good games that like the thing is I never came disappointed out of the games. You know what I mean? Like G2 was always good games, but I always came out of the games with disappointment. So it wasn't my most fun team to play against.
Okay.
But like you get the point.
I do.
I feel like you could understand that. But I mean that was always one, but like I mean G2 was always great to play against just because like it was a different game. Like that's how it felt. So that was always fun. And then I mean I don't know. I hate playing against my own region now. I'm just so fucking sick of it. Like I just want to go to a LAN again. So like I don't
Who
even
doesn't? Yeah.
like fuck all the NA teams. I'm sick of playing against them. Like I don't know. I get annoyed like with a thing with every like NA team. I feel like that it's just like I don't like playing against it anymore just because we played against them so much. But I mean that's just
What do you think about playing against E United?
That's how it is right now. Come on, man. We don't have to add the segment in here, Parker.
Dude, I gotta put E United in every single podcast.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
I think we are now. I think we're at 100% for.
Now imagine, Troy, the being a Brazilian team, going to invitationals and thinking to yourself, "Oh, I'm gonna play every region. It's gonna be fun and stuff."
Oh,
And
I know.
And you get a group with 3 Brazilians that used to play with themselves, and Liquid is like, "Damn, I'm bad. I'm bad in Brazil, but I'm really good against foreigner teams." And then they lose in the group stage.
That's literally exactly what I said about that group when it got drawn.
That was shit.
Like
I didn't
Liquid
like that.
was one of the, like Liquid beat us at OGA, and they were like one of the teams we feared most. I guess.
Yeah.
And so like we were like we're keeping an eye on them, like checking out their groups, seeing like if we think they're going to get out of it, stuff like that. And like we saw that group and we're like, they might not even make it out just because they struggle more in Brazil. They're better on international competition. And yeah, like it's.
I'm gonna try to change that.
I'm in the same boat though. Like I'm sick of it gets old playing against the same teams. It does.
It does.
It's a different game when things are more unpredictable, right? Because you don't know the other team entirely. Like you kind of know them, like you do your research on them, you kind of know them. But like when you're scrimming these teams all the time, when you've played them in like 4 or 5, like when you've played them in countless fucking matches, you just you know them so well that it's like it's not the same game anymore.
For sure.
Yeah, I didn't understand that one. On one hand, it was like cool because it guarantees a Brazilian team is making it out, which is great. You know, last SI, the only team from Brazil that made it out was Liquid. And it came real close to Liquid almost not making it out, if you remember. Like
the
Brazil,
sexy cake clutch.
Yeah, the sexy cake clutch. Like Liquid almost didn't make it. Brazil wouldn't have been in the quarters at all. They would have all been eliminated in groups. So it was cool in the sense that Brazil was guaranteed to be in the playoffs. That was cool.
Yeah.
But I don't like seeing interregional matchups at all. And
because you already get to see that every day, right?
Right. And I mean, especially in Brazil, you have BR6 and Latin America. Like at the time, you had no shortage of watching Brazilian teams play against other Brazilian teams. So on one hand, I'm like, this is awesome because it's very likely that Aerowolf, now Giants Gaming, is going to lose the group, which is what happened. It's very likely that 2 Brazilian teams are going to make it out, which is awesome. But at the same time, like it's shitty from a perspective of I want to see Liquid and NIP and MIBR. I want to see them play other teams. Like I don't want to see them play themselves. Like I saw Liquid and MIBR play already like 8 times in 3 months. Like, stop. Let me see them play other teams. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with that said,
hopefully they will change that rule, right?
I hope so. And now we're going up to 20 teams for SI if it even happens at all. So hopefully, fingers crossed. I need a Mav hug in my life. So.
Oh yeah. But now it's all bones.
We're all bones. We are 2 skeletons colliding now. So
yeah,
but that's okay. We're better for it. I appreciate you stopping by. We've only had one other Brazilian guest on here. It was Twister representing Furia in the coaches episode. You are our very first one-on-one conversation with somebody from Brazil, and there's nobody else I wanted. I messaged you after our first episode, and you can attest to that. I messaged you after our first episode, and I was like, I want you on the show.
Yeah, I wasn't in a good state of mind. I mean, it wouldn't be a great episode. I mean, the things with FaZe were happening and stuff like that. So, yeah. But I think it's for the best.
You're a good friend of us. You're a good friend with Troy. You're a good friend of mine. So, And to everybody, by the way, from Brazil, showing up huge. Team Liquid and Team Liquid's Brazilian account retweeting the hell out of it. Brazil, you showed up great. So thank you. Obrigado. Yes. I'm saying that incorrectly, I'm sure.
No, it's perfect. It's
thank
fine.
you. And the biggest shout out is to Teqwave of everybody. Teqwave was literally live translating this entire episode, which is incredible.
The whole time.
That's legendary. So
thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Parker. Thank you for inviting me, Troy. It's always a pleasure talking to you guys.
Yep.
I kind of missed the events and talking to you, so it's good that this happened in the middle of this whole thing in the world. But hopefully it will pass soon, and we will hug each other at the events and get wasted in the after parties.
That seems to be the process, you know.
Yes.
Exactly.
But if Troy's winning, I don't know if he's going to be as sad at the after parties. So that's the thing. But where can we find you before
Troy
we
at the
go?
after parties?
If people want to follow you, plug your social media, where can they find you?
It's MavFPS, pretty much everything. I think on Instagram it's mav.fps. I just started posting more there because I've usually been out of the social stuff. But I'm starting streaming now. It's in Portuguese, but if you want to drop a question, want to hang out in the chat, I will definitely answer it if you have any more questions. It's MavFPS as well. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry for my English. It's kind of rusty because the
Oh,
events,
no.
you know, like,
shut up. Your
No,
English
no,
is
no, no, no.
perfect.
it truly is. Like,
Oh my
you need to
goodness.
practice to get better.
No.
But
I
Oh, no.
refuse. We refuse to accept that apology. You do not apologize for your English. Your English is great.
but yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and yeah, that's it.
It's a perfect send off. Thank you so much. One note, there will be no episode next week. As was announced, US division is back. So we're going to be focused on that. And I have some personal stuff to attend to on the weekend. So we are taking a week off and then we'll be back the next week. So for all of you that tuned in, thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. Thank you to Mav. Thank you to everybody who watched. Take care of yourselves and enjoy the rest of your day, week, year, month. It's all the same.
Thank you. Bye bye.